but it's, again, it just tells the story of it's the evil and the ugliness of people's hearts these days is everywhere.
This is Franky Rose's Think Tank. Here's your host, Franky Rose.
Hey guys, welcome to the Think Tank. So we have day one. It's called the Treehouse M trial. So you know what? I thought we would take a look at this and see what we make of it. They're just starting basically their house cleaning before they bring the jury in and get started. So let's check this out.
Agreement, then it's kind of a moot point. I didn't know that there was an agreement. I'm not sure that that's an absolute requirement for that testimony. I've done a little research myself, and obviously the confrontation.
The volume's not good, guys. Sorry.
Is a paramount concern.
Good morning, Dandy. Good to see you, friend.
Alive and well, to the extent that they
I
can
just
testify
set the fast.
in lieu of a deposition to perpetuate. That's the preferred method. I agree with you that the logistics of introducing documents and reviewing them and the like is
Just getting it set up.
challenging. It can be done, but it's challenging. So I don't know if we readdress this once we get the medical condition.
Sounds fine, Your Honor.
Right, but
The only
it
other-
looks like we're headed in that direction.
The only other issue I might address with that, if you might, is if the state decides to call her, while I'm making arrangements for the defense to call her, I'm not sure, man, whether they're going to make arrangements themselves.
I missed that last night, Dandy. Oh my God, what was going on there?
They called the witness in their case.
Okay, well, I'm making arrangements so that she can appear via Zoom for the defense, right? Now, they still haven't decided whether they want to call her or not. But if they do decide to call her, I would assume that they're going to have to make their own arrangements.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah. If the state decides that they're going to call Ms. Belmonte in their case in chief, I'm quite confident that they will use their resources, investigators, staff, whatever it is that's in their field of responsibility, and they'll take care of it.
Good.
I didn't get the sense, frankly.
Okay, we're good.
Mansfield yesterday that it was likely that that was going to happen, but if it is,
This is day one.
Take care of all the logistics.
Just trying to take care of all the bases, Your Honor.
And that's a good idea.
I'm on with Dylan from the alternate corner tomorrow. We're talking about
just have a discussion with Mr. Mansfield.
I was just looking at this case.
Mr. Ballarado was telling me that
Give me
normally
2
it's
seconds.
customary, I guess, to tell the
Karen
defense or
Reed.
tell the prosecution.
We'll be talking about Karen Reed.
What witnesses you're probably going to call the next day, because some take longer prep than others. I was just wondering if we can make such an arrangement.
Well, it is true that in most cases that I've dealt with,
Andy, I have to
professional
change my
extends to alerting
volume because
one
I'm missing
side
stuff
or the other
on my phone.
who's expected to be called as a witness on that particular day.
And you rock.
It's not, an ironclad rule, but I put it in the category of professional courtesy. So hopefully that can exist in this particular case. From my vantage point, it seems like thus far there's been respectful dealings between the sides. State of any problem in letting the defendant know what your anticipated.
Judge, the state anticipates after opening the first witness will be Deputy Jenna Muller from the Monroe
Sounds
County.
like they've got 3 set up for today.
Do you have any others lined up for today?
Yes, Judge. After that, we anticipate calling Detective Marcus Del Valle from the Key West Police Department. And then I think the third witness lined up for today would be Mr. Roger Rowden.
Okay.
All right, well, that's pretty well today's lineup.
That sounds fine, Your Honor.
Let's do this.
Presumably, you'll extend them the same courtesy
Of
when
course,
it's your
of course.
turn.
Yep.
So then, once the jurors get here, we go through preliminary instructions. There's a portion of one instruction where
Have you guys been paying attention to that Karen Reed case at all?
right to choose whether or not he or she wants a particular portion given. These are the preliminary instructions, and this one optional instruction at the defendant's request says, in every criminal proceeding, the defendant has the absolute right to remain silent. At no time.
How is the volume, guys?
Prove his innocence from the exercise of a defendant's right
Mine's
to remain
cranked.
silent. The jury is not permitted to draw any inference of guilt from the fact that a defendant did not take the witness stand, must not influence your verdict in any manner whatsoever. So,
Handy
that can be
dandy.
given or not, that's the defendant's option. So,
Obviously, I'm not going to stay silent, Your Honor.
so that's not obvious to me, but you've
Speak.
Well
that's
said,
fine.
Judge.
So, can I take it then you don't want that?
It is
paragraph?
dandy.
That's fine. You don't have to read that.
All right. So
It really is. I'm going to start looking into it.
is anybody
deeper today and
invoking the
tomorrow.
rule of sequestration of witnesses? That's
And then get ready
the
for the
next
trial.
question that you are. Okay. So if you're familiar with that rule, Mr. Tucker, but
A little, Your Honor. I wouldn't mind a little explanation from the court. I usually get educated.
So what, he's defending himself?
what that rule says is that witnesses
I think this guy's defending himself. Here we
not
go.
be in the courtroom.
Hopefully we're not dealing with another Daryl Brooks.
When they're testifying. So before they've testified and after they've testified, they have to stay out of the courtroom unless, the sides agree that that rule can be suspended for that particular person. Otherwise, they can't be sitting in here, either.
Florida against,
testified
well, versus Franklin Tyrone Tucker, the Treehouse M trial.
Precluded from speaking to anyone about their testimony. Like if there's a waiting room with witnesses, it's prohibited from those witnesses to confer with each other. I think
That would make sense.
yes, exactly. It's to prevent any kind of comparing testimony or discussing the experience. The only exception to that is that a witness may speak to the attorney, or in this case yourself, for either side, as long as that is done one witness at a time. So you can't have a huddle with the lawyer and 3 or 4 witnesses, but the lawyer, or as again I say, the pro se litigant, is entitled to speak to a witness. They're not covered by that rule. It is a serious rule. It can be enforced by contempt.
He was approved to represent himself in December.
Violate said rule, they could be subject to being fined, being incarcerated, having their testimony stricken, any and all of the above.
These ones where they decide to defend themselves blow me away. Let's see here. This one. Let's go from here, guys.
The jurors are all here in the jury room, and hopefully that'll be right around 9:30. Thank you. They don't do an all rise.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know how much time they've got slotted. I thought they were ready to go. I thought the jurors were in.
Yeah, who's this? Hey, is Pam there?
Is Pam there?
I know, but I gotta talk to her. Yeah, I gotta talk to her.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, let me see if I can bump it up a little bit. Oh, waiting, waiting, waiting. So here we sit for just a minute. Let's make sure I'm up to speed. So they were just basically explaining the law to the defendant who has decided that he is going to defend himself. Yeah, that Karen Reed case does seem a bit sketchy. I'm hearing all sorts of names I've never heard before, as far as even podcasters and YouTubers, and sounds like there's a lot of things going on in the side. I'll turn off my TV in the background. So how are you guys doing? We're sitting at almost minus 30 in the Rockies. How about you? We got a ash ton of snow. Let's turn on the TV. There we go. Turn it on. So Lizzie actually last night came up the stairs for the first time to sleep up there. She's been afraid of these stairs. And I've been so excited for her to just make it up those stairs. Well, oh my God, she must have come up about 1 or 2 o'clock last night, and she whined and she whined. No sleep for Frankie. Just enough to make a mess. Yeah, I imagine Buddy will be back with his snowblowers chasing it in circles again. I'm assuming. I giggled yesterday when Buddy was out there because I could just see the snow circling, and he's like, I'm under a carport, so I don't usually get snow on my vehicle, but due to that snow blowing technique, oh, I'm just buried out there. So I think we're just waiting for the jury to come in. I'll see what else I can find about this. So let's see here. Buddy, buddy, buddy. Franklin Tyrone Tucker. So let's see what I can find. Let's see. There's a new ripple in the Treehouse MKs in a March 8, 2021 deposition. The lead detective, okay, let's see here. Is this, oh yeah, claims his boss at the sheriff's office had coached witnesses and used fabricated evidence in building an M case against Franklin Tyrone Tucker. Whoa. Let's take a boo, guys, while we're waiting. Yeah, he's defending himself. So treehouse, here we go. And I do have that up when there's some movement in the court. We'll just jump back in. On November 17th, 2017, two masked men attacked 53-year-old Paula Belmont, who lived on the roof of Matthew Benet's treehouse on Stock Island. One of them put a weapon to her throat and demanded money. Belmont screamed at the top of her lungs. He cut a 7-inch gash. Alerted by the screaming, Benet rushed upstairs. The two assailants went after him and attacked him multiple times with a weapon from behind as he tried to run away. Belmont survived, but Benet was passed by the time the police arrived. According to the state prosecutors, Ty Tucker is the treehouse M.er. His roommate in a deserted warehouse, Rory Wilson, said he did it. A woman named April Walker saw him get rid of the clothes. And the night of the M, after his arrest, he confessed to a cellmate, Naeem Jackson. Jackson said Tucker admitting to have done this to the 59-year-old Benet. He was also shocked by Tucker's apparent lack of remorse, that he spontaneously reported the confession to the sheriff's deputy. Tucker is facing life in prison. So it says, at least that has been the prosecutor's official story. The problem with that version of the facts is that there are two victims who did survive the assault. Paula Belmont and Todd O'Quinn. They both knew Ty Tucker and both insisted to this day that he was not there. I must have told the detective probably around 10 times that it was not Tucker, said Paula in her September 28, 2020 deposition. She said, now that Tucker, did she know that Tucker looked like they were friends? The two had breakfast together 3 or 4 days after the incidents at McDonald's. Around the treehouse, people have their own memory of what happened. A feud between two women had caused the passing of an innocent man. Old Matthew Benet. Oh. Okay, guys.
Particular point.
I'll keep that up.
Please.
Well said. Okay, so this looks really interesting, guys. There he is there. Around the treehouse, people have their own theory of what happened. The feud between two women caused the passing of an innocent man, Matthew Benet. The women are Paula Belmont and Anathea Clay, both believed to be informants for the sheriff's office. A number of people came forward to detectives, including Paula, saying Anathea organized the heist, which turned into M. The status of the treehouse itself is somewhat of a mystery. Every member of law enforcement who responded to the M that night seemed to know that Paula Belmont was dealing substances in her makeshift apartment on the treehouse roof. Yet we found no records of a D arrest at the location for the 9-month period just prior to the date.
Okay, that's great. Let's let everybody work their way to their seats. Please be seated, everyone.
So we'll at least take a look at this morning. And if it's something that we're interested in, we'll do more of this trial.
Ladies, gentlemen, good morning.
Morning.
I'm very grateful to see you all here this morning, all 14 of you. Thank you very much for being here and being on time. Over the last 3 days, as I'm sure you all recollect, we had the opportunity to go through the qualifications as jurors, and then a rather protected jury selection process. And then yesterday, you all ended up being seated and sworn as the jury to hear this case, decide this case. I gave you some preliminary instructions and explanation of what to do and not to do over the time between your excusal yesterday and being here today. And I also told you that I was going to give you some formal preliminary instructions the first thing this morning. So that's what I'm going to do.
Let's hope we got a good judge here. Looking good so
You
far.
have been selected and sworn as the jury to try the case of the state of Florida versus Franky Tyrone Tucker. Case number 2017 CF 841 CK.
Dylan, if you're out there, thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Franklin Tucker is charged with first-degree felony murder, robbery with a deadly weapon while masked, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon while masked, and battery while masked. The definition of these crimes will be explained to you later. The state's charging document, which are called an indictment and an information, are not evidence and are not to be considered by you as any proof of guilt. It is the judge's responsibility to explain the law to you.
Minus 27 here, Dan.
Your
What have you
solemn
got? We're
responsibility
Celsius.
to determine if the state proved its accusation beyond a reasonable doubt against Franklin Tucker in accordance with the law that I provide to you. Thus, the province of the jury and the province of the court are well defined, and they do not overlap. This is one of the fundamental principles of our system of justice. Before proceeding further, it will be helpful if you understand how a trial is conducted. At the beginning of the trial, the attorneys will have an opportunity, if they wish, to make an opening statement. The opening statement gives the attorneys a chance to tell you what evidence they believe will be presented during the trial. What the lawyers say is not evidence, do not consider it as such. Following the opening statements, witnesses will be called to testify or under oath. They will
Again, I hope we don't have another Darryl Brooks.
Examined by the attorneys, documents, and other exhibits also
it's
may be
balmy
produced as
there.
evidence.
Beauty.
After the evidence has been presented, the attorneys will have the opportunity to make their closing arguments. Following the closing arguments by the attorneys, the court will instruct you on the law applicable to the case. Following the closing arguments by the attorneys, the court will conclude with the final instructions. After the final instructions are given, you will then retire to consider your verdict.
Mine says.
You should not form any definite or fixed opinion on the merits of the case until you have heard all the evidence, the argument of the lawyers, and the instructions
Feels like
of the
minus
law by the
39.
judge. Until that time, you should not discuss the case among yourselves. And I
Feels like minus 39.
dwelled on that point yesterday afternoon. Your verdict must be based solely on the evidence or lack of evidence in the law. I now instruct you not to communicate with anyone, including your fellow jurors, about this case. No communication includes no emailing, text messaging, tweeting, blogging, or any other form of communication. You cannot do any research about the case or look up any information about the case. If you become aware of any violation of any of these rules at all, notify court personnel of the violation. During the course of the trial, the court may take recesses, and you will be permitted to separate and go about your personal affairs. During these recesses, you must not discuss the case with anyone, nor permit anyone to say anything to you or in your presence about the case. If anyone attempts to say anything to you or in your presence about this case, tell him or her that you are on the jury trying the case and ask that person to stop. If he or she persists, leave that person at once and immediately report the matter to the bailiff, who will advise me. Also,
my hubby is it's minus 41, but I don't know what his feel like.
Electronic devices must be turned off while you're in the courtroom. Turned off means the phone or other electronic devices actually off and not in a silent or vibrating mode.
Feels like going home.
You may use these devices during recesses, but even then, you may not use your cell phone or electronic device to find out any information about the case or communicate with anyone about the case or the people involved in the case. Do not take photographs, video recordings, or audio recordings of the proceedings or of your fellow jurors. After each recess, please double check to make sure your cell phone or electronic device is turned off. At the end of the case, while you are deliberating, you must not communicate with anyone outside the jury room. You cannot have in the jury room any cell phones, computers, or other electronic devices. If someone needs to contact you in an emergency, the court can receive messages and deliver them to you without delay. The contact phone number will be provided to you, and I believe, in fact, yesterday on that parking pass, the clerk did write down my office phone number, and that can be utilized under these circumstances. You all have that. The case must be tried by you only on the evidence presented during the trial in your presence and in the presence of the defendant, the attorneys, and the judge. Jurors must not conduct any investigation of their own. This includes reading newspapers.
I am so curious to see how this guy does.
Computers, cell phone, the internet,
Defending
any
himself.
electronic device, or any other means at all to get information related to this case or the people and places involved in this case. This applies whether you are in the courthouse, at home, or anywhere else. You must not visit places mentioned in the trial or use the internet to look at maps or pictures to see any place discussed during the trial. Jurors must not have discussions of any sort with friends or family members about the case or the people and places involved. So do not let even the closest family members make comments to you or ask questions about the trial.
That'd be so hard.
In this age of electronic communication, I want to stress again that just as you must not talk about this case face to face, you must not talk about this case by using an electronic device. You must not use phones, computers, or other electronic devices to communicate. Do not send or accept any messages relating to this case or your jury service. Do not discuss this case or ask for advice by any means at all, including posting information on an internet website, chat room, or blog. What are the reasons for these rules? These rules are imposed because jurors must decide the case without distraction and only on the evidence presented in the courtroom. If you investigate, research, or make inquiries on your own, the trial judge has no way to make sure that the information you obtain is proper for the case. The parties likewise have no opportunity to dispute or challenge the accuracy of what you find. That is contrary to our judicial system, which assures every party the right to.
So, while he's doing that, I just want to read this. It says, some puzzling details have emerged. A marked $100 bill was found flopping around at the scene that night. An officer is heard saying, "Oh, it's mine." You check the serial numbers. It ends in 27. It's mine. 27A, something like that. The number ended with 72A. On a recording of an open mic at the Detectives Bureau, Captain Penny Phelps is heard warning other detectives, "I hope Todd O'Quinn can ID him. Otherwise, yeah, we are all in trouble." Kim was Ty Tucker. Phelps does not elaborate further on what kind of trouble was lurking over all of them. Matthew Pincher, the lead detective in the case, was recently deposed by Tucker's attorney at the time, Kara Higgins. Higgins asked questions about the controlled bygone bad theory and why there was a sheriff cruiser parked across the street around the time of the M. Detective Pitcher denied knowing anything about a substance operation that night. However, some of Pitcher's responses do raise questions as to the integrity of the investigation and whether an innocent man living at the KOTS homeless shelter at the time of his arrest was somehow turned into the Treehouse M. So there is some interesting things in the background going on.
I can handle that in one of two ways. I can call a bench conference, and I think you saw some examples of bench conferences over the last couple of days where I asked the attorneys, defendant to approach. We kind of huddle up, speak in hush terms, and then go back to our respective positions. That is to handle
So he's giving really, really good description to the jurors. I think this one, like I was just saying, is going to have a lot of twists and turns in it by what I'm seeing.
Situation as quickly and expeditiously as possible. Once in a while, a bench conference is inadequate to deal with whatever the situation is. Maybe I need to look at some things. Maybe I need a longer time. Any one of a number of different reasons where I would determine that we're not going to be able to handle it at the bench conference. If that occurs, I'm going to turn to you, and I'm going to say, members of the jury, we reached one of those points in the trial. Would you kindly go in the jury room?
Happy days.
So you go in the jury room, I address, resolve whatever it is that has come up, and then you're brought back out here. I'll try to make it as expeditious as I can, depending upon the issue. I can't tell you what we're talking about, but at least you're going to understand, because I've given you a heads up now, that this is part of a trial, and I haven't forgotten about you, and I'm going to bring you out just as soon as it's possible. So, if you would like to take notes during the trial, you may do so. On the other hand, of course, you are not required to take notes if you do not want to. That will be left up to you individually. You have been provided with a notepad and a writing utensil for use if you wish to take notes. Each one of you has a new steno pad there. It should have your unique number on it. Pencil. Any notes that you take will be for your personal use. However, you should not take them with you from the courtroom. During recesses, the bailiff will take possession of your notes and will return them to you when we reconvene. So at break time, or at lunchtime, or at the end of the day, just leave the notepad on your chair. We'll collect them and be sure they're secure. After you have completed your deliberations, the bailiff will deliver your notes to me. They will be destroyed. No one will ever read your notes. And I want to fortify this point. I do jury trials quite routinely, regularly. We handle jury notes. We have a standard operating procedure. So we respect the confidences of jury notes. So once the trial is over, they're collected. Any page that has any kind of markings on it whatsoever is simply separated from the spiral binding and fed into the shredder. That's believe me, I have enough to read, so I'm not going to be looking at jury notes, and we all respect that privacy. If you take notes, do not get so involved in note-taking that you become distracted from the proceedings. Your notes should be used only as aids to your memory. Whether or not you take notes, you should rely on your memory of the evidence, and you should not be unduly influenced by the notes of other jurors. Notes are not entitled to any greater weight than each juror's memory of the evidence. So, with those preliminary instructions, we're now going to open statements. So, counsel for the
jury instructions over. Opening statements. Let's go.
Please, the court.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, Mr. Tucker. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, good morning.
Oh, there we go.
My name is Assistant State Attorney David Alvarez, and along with my colleague, Chief Assistant State Attorney Joseph Mansfield, will be conducting the presentation of the evidence on behalf of the state this morning and throughout the course of the trial. I'd like to start off by saying thank you for your participation in this process. It's very important, not only to the state, but to Mr. Tucker as well. So we thank you. And as the judge has already told you, the defendant is charged with a series of crimes. I'm not going to go over them again. We believe the evidence in this case will show that on or about November 17th of 2017, at 5650 Laurel Avenue, Stock Island, Florida, a place commonly known as the Treehouse, the defendant in this case, Mr. Franky Tyrone Tucker, along with co-defendants Rory Wilson and Travis Johnson, planned and effectuated a robbery at that location, which at the time was the residence of Paula Belmonte. On said date, at approximately 7:45 or a little bit before there, these three individuals, and you'll hear testimony of this, the evidence will show this, that they actually spoke about how they were going to effectuate and pull off this robbery. They drove past the treehouse once just to stake it out, came back. Defendants Wilson and Tucker put on their dark clothing and grabbed their weapons and their mask, and then got back into Mr. Travis Johnson's truck and drove to the treehouse. The plan was, as you'll hear and the evidence will show, that Mr. Tucker and Mr. Wilson were going to go up the treehouse, and the reason it's referred to as a treehouse, it's a series of stairs that leads. I don't really want to say, I don't want to describe it as an apartment, but it's a place where people could sleep. It had tarps over it. It really didn't even have roofs.
Oh, wow.
And I believe the victims in the case, Miss Belmonte and Mr. Raggett, will explain that in detail, as well as some of the deputies that you'll hear from.
All I have seen so far is
committing
stairs.
this robbery, defendants Tucker,
a bit of the
this
top.
actual defendant, Mr. Tucker and Mr. Wilson, went up into the treehouse and held Miss Belmonte and Mr. Raggett at knife point. Miss Belmonte was held at knife point with a knife to her throat. During the commission of this robbery, her throat was slashed, and you will see pictures of her injuries during the course of this case. The state is going to be introducing photos of that. Mr. Raggett was also held at knife point. He was beaten, punched several times. He'll actually testify that he was knocked back into a tarp.
Horrible what people do to each other.
At this time of the year, I believe in November, it wasn't quite fully dark yet. It was dusk, the sun was setting, but they were able to discern that the alleged perpetrators were coming up the stairs, and eventually what happened. In the process of committing this alleged crime, obviously in fear of their lives, Miss Belmonte and Mr. Raggett were screaming in fear for their lives. And unfortunately, the crimes didn't stop there. A neighbor, Mr. Matthew Bonnet, heard the screams and decided to render aid, or at least try to assist in somehow. As he was coming up the stairs, the evidence will show that Mr. Tucker and Mr. Wilson confronted him. There was a struggle that ensued, and Mr. Bonnet was stabbed numerous times and eventually died from these injuries. The defendants then fled the scene. Defendant Johnson, who was waiting in his dark-colored pickup truck, the getaway driver, noticing that there was a commotion going on, decided to leave his two accomplices and drives away. They ultimately meet up at a warehouse where they were all residing together, probably about, I want to say about 500 or 600 feet from the actual treehouse, where an argument ensued, and Mr. Johnson decided to walk down to the Tom Tom to get some cigarettes, where he met up with Mr. Detroit Wilson, Mr. Rory Wilson. You're going to hear from numerous witnesses during the state's presentation, and shall be presented with numerous exhibits of evidence for your review and consideration in this case. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the state is absolutely confident that at the conclusion of this matter, you will find that the defendant, Franklin Tyrone Tucker, is guilty as charged in the indictment and the amended information. Thank you.
His turn, guys. Wow. Here we go.
Tucker, would you like to make an opening statement at this time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you may do so.
Well, this guy is the suspect who has been charged, or the fellow who's been charged. Franklin Tyrone Tucker. Hi.
Okay. That was a nice presentation. I'd say, by the way, good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. That was quite the story. But the problem is nothing in that story tells you what evidence they have, what evidence they're going to show. You know, how are they going to actually tie me into that story? Anyway, you know, the prosecution, you know, tells that story, but the problem is very little of that story is true. That's the bottom line. And, you know, yes, about the only thing that was true in that story is yes, John Travis Johnson was there. That's a fact, right? This state witness, you know, they keep on saying he's the getaway driver, right? Out of all the evidence.
Object argumentative.
I'm going to sustain the objection.
Is it my
Again,
turn?
this
Hey,
is,
Chopper,
an
good to
opportunity
see you.
talk about what the evidence you expect will
Oh,
show.
but that's where I'm going, Your Honor.
Okay.
Just give me a second, I'll get right there. I was
Whoa.
actually just getting to that point. Out of all the evidence they show, all the witnesses they bring, where are they going to show he's the getaway driver? That's what you need to look at, right? Because the defense, you know, we can show all day, there is no evidence saying he was a getaway driver. We can also
Chopper,
show
this
that there's
guy's
evidence that
defending
says
himself
otherwise.
again. Another one of them.
And that's what we
See
do.
how this works.
As far as the, you know, the evidence we intend to put on, we're going to, you know, put on the surviving victim, Ms. Paula Bellamont, who says, 100% sure it wasn't me that night. 100%. Now, just as Mr. Alvarez said, you know, this is a woman who was brutally beaten, robbed, had her throat slit, you know, literally sat there and watched her friend get murdered viciously. But yet she is testifying on my side. Now, don't get me wrong, you know, what motivation could she have? Anyway.
It's
going back to
exhausting.
mine here.
I can agree with
We
that.
also intend on going ahead and, you know, calling a few other witnesses here. The next one after that is probably going to be Mrs. Angela Oslowski. Again, talking about evidence, right? Well, this is the woman who did the FDLE reports, the forensic evidence that, you know, that they submitted, right? All the evidence comes back. None of my DNA, none of my, my blood, none of my fingerprints, none of that stuff. Okay. So no forensic evidence, right? Okay. Surviving victim says it wasn't me. Okay. So we'll go on down from there.
Wow.
Next one, Mr. Tom Walker from Internal Affairs, right? Now, Mr. Tom Walker goes ahead and investigates the investigation because of a complaint I made, right? A complaint that comes back sustained, right? Comes back as sustained for an investigation that was so poor, so poorly executed. 208 pieces of evidence were found to be mishandled by the MCSO, including DNA, including physical evidence, including video.
Wow.
208 pieces of evidence. Now, he also
Actually,
goes ahead and goes beyond that.
So far.
He goes on to show that, you know, that the original affidavit that was used to arrest me, the one that actually, you know, everybody relies on as far as what the police say happened, right? He goes ahead and investigates that. Unfortunately, guess what? That's not accurate either, according to him. That he actually goes ahead and investigates this and finds out that the original affidavit that was used to indict me, used to give me these charges.
I'm actually surprised. He's doing a good job. He's coming across pretty clear and concise. That's not what I expected. This could be interesting, guys.
And put me in front of you people, right? Not that I don't like you, but
Objection argumentative.
I'll overrule that objection.
no, but yes, you know, it put me here. And so he'll go ahead and show that that isn't exactly accurate. That it's filled with inaccuracies. It also has what they call material omissions, you know, stuff that would be an exculpatory evidence to suggest that I wasn't there.
Wow.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and interview Mr. Tom Walker. We'll go ahead and put him on the stand. Then after that, we have Mr. Lieutenant Colonel Chad Scabilia, right? He's actually one of the higher ups in the MCSO. I don't know how familiar the jury is with that, right? I know we all know Rick Ramsey, you know, but do we know Mr. Scabilia? Probably not. But he is one of the higher ups in the MCSO. He's in charge of their operations. He decides, as of January of 2019, he's going to go ahead and do an investigation of the entire major crimes unit, right? He's afraid that they're not living up to par. That's a good supervisor.
Object and ask for sidebar.
Okay.
He's kind of a cocky guy, isn't he? Oh, Lee. So they've objected twice. The judge has overruled it. Now they're going for a sidebar. What do they think he did this time? You know, I always think a guy that, or I mean, a person that defends themselves is a little bit off their rocker. But we'll have to see how this goes. There's so much of a story I'm finding from previous, and this has got something to do as to why he's defending himself this time. Seems to have learned a little bit about the law. I mean, I don't know anything about it. I know, right, Chopper? It sounds like it was kind of on a rooftop, tents and stuff. I haven't actually seen it yet, but yeah, the tree house. You know, it's funny because when I was looking at this case, it's not, there's more than one that's called the Treehouse M. It's like, what the hell goes on in these tree houses? Oh, are you serious? Unreal. Did she survive? I'm guessing not if there's his girlfriend. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna go from now. That sounds really interesting.
1 second, I'm going to wait till the date settles in. I'm also going to advise the jury that I have overruled the objection, but I do want to remind you that this is opening statement. It's not evidence in the case, and it may or may not reflect what ultimately is evidence, and it's up to you to decide the case based on the evidence. So keep that in mind, that this, what I told you, the statements of the attorneys, is not evidence. So with that, let the defendant proceed with his opening.
Thanks. I'd also like to apologize for my tone. You know, obviously, I'm a little upset. You might understand. I don't know if you do, but you might understand. Anyway, continuing forward.
Raise your voice, though.
Lieutenant Colonel Scabili. His report, he goes ahead and he finds that there are
Speak up
of investigations in major crimes unit that have not been sufficiently investigated, according to him. One of them, you know, well, not one of them, out of the many that he finds. And this,
so these guys, it sounds like we're homeless
on the sand.
That went after this
Go ahead with this
for this robbery that turned into an M.
To have, out of 17 active cases, 11 of them come up as insufficient, which we would argue mine is one of those. So we, you know, we have quite a bit of evidence. We have quite a bit of evidence. You know, I know that Mr. Mansfield asked you if you could convict me on one piece of evidence. Maybe that's true. I could see that, depending on what the evidence is. You got a video of me doing something, or, you know, I could see that. But what he failed to say, could you convict
lurk
me
away,
on one
friend,
piece of
lurk
evidence
away.
when there's a lot of evidence that says something else?
Ours is still coming down. I'm not even
That's what we're
going
going to try and get to with the defense.
to go there.
We're going to bring up witnesses. We're going to bring up evidence, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to challenge everything that the state is saying here, because I know it's not true. So in the end, that's what we're looking for here, right? We're looking for the truth.
Have a great day, Tristan.
They can present their case. I'll present mine, and we'll see what comes out as true. And then you guys can decide. And I know from looking at all of you and from going through our board diary, this will decide correctly. Thank you.
I think you just made she just made my day.
So, jury, you've now heard opening statements from both the state and the defense.
So that was fast, guys.
We start with the evidentiary portion of the proceedings, and the state has the opportunity to go first. So, prepared to call in the first witness in your case in chief.
This could go really fast.
They would call Deputy Jenna Muller from the Monroe County Sheriff's Office.
All right, Deputy Jenna Muller. Wherever the podium suits you, a broad range is fine. As long as comfortable, as long as the other side's able
All
to
good.
get a clear view of the witness stand and hear, that's fine. Ma'am, if you please step forward right through the gate there. Approach the deputy who's in front of the witness stand here. That's good. Would you stop right there, turn, face the clerk, raise your right hand.
They should all these cases, they should be streamed. I mean, it's really nice to see what actually goes on in these courtrooms. And we can't all just
Please have a seat
get
on the
there.
witness stand. Loud and clear.
These cases that they're fighting the cameras are driving me
To hear you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Please state your name and the jury, please.
Jenna Moeller,
And where are you currently employed?
Monroe County Sheriff's Office.
In what capacity are you employed with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office?
I am the Road Patrol Sergeant in District 1.
How long have you been doing that, Deputy Mother?
As a sergeant
Yes.
since July, I believe.
And in total with the Sheriff's Department?
Interesting to see the
I started in
reactions
January
when they're getting
2016.
16. Okay.
questioned by the
Direct your attention
suspect.
to November 17th of 2017. Were you employed with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office on that date?
I was.
And in what capacity were you working with them at that?
So do you guys think that there's going to be a lot of interesting reactions? I couldn't imagine being an arresting officer and then being questioned in the courtroom by the same guy. That blows me away.
I was the deputy on Road Patrol
Common.
in District 1.
And at
Sadly.
some point on that date, I want to say at approximately 7:45, 8 o'clock, did you have an opportunity to respond to 5650 Laurel Avenue, commonly known as a treehouse?
Yes, I believe the original call was for me to go to the CVS right in front of that address.
Okay, and the CVS, how far is it away from the 5650 Laurel Avenue?
Across the street.
Literally across the street?
Yes.
Okay, and could you please describe for the jury what happened? What happened when you got there?
So I responded to the CVS. The call was that there was a man there making excited statements, something along the lines of maybe his friends were hurt. I don't remember the exact dispatch. So I arrived there, made contact with a male who was shirtless, and he began telling me that of this incident, a stabbing that occurred, and that it occurred at the treehouse.
Okay, and did you ultimately
Yeah.
respond to the treehouse?
I did.
Were you the first surviving officer on the scene?
I was.
Could you please describe for the jury what you observed when you arrived?
So on arrival, I could hear, I parked my patrol vehicle out front of the property, and I could hear someone screaming from what ended up being the top of the treehouse.
Jeez.
I made my way onto the property, up the stairs, and that's where I encountered the first
Good
victim.
day, Douglas.
Laying
Good to
face
see
down on
you.
the stairs, unresponsive. I went past him to the victim that was yelling, and she was at the very top of the treehouse with a large wound to her neck, and I believe her hand as well.
Now, a lot of people are interested, including myself. Could you describe why do they call this residence the treehouse?
So it was legit a treehouse. It was almost like a outdoor platform tower. I believe there was 2 levels and stairs going up all the way to the top.
Oh,
And it was essentially a treehouse. It was just 2
Okay.
platforms.
Did it have a roof or anything of that nature?
I think maybe part of it sort of had some sort of makeshift roof, but I don't remember exactly.
Running electricity?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, very well. You indicated the first victim you encountered was non-responsive.
Correct.
Did you call for medical assistance?
Yes.
And did they ultimately arrive there?
Yes.
Okay, and then you proceeded upstairs, and who did you come into contact with upstairs? Do you remember?
Yes, that was Miss Paula Belmonte.
And what was her condition like?
She was very excitable, yelling, screaming. And she had the large wound on her neck. I believe I found a towel nearby or something and applied pressure, had her hold on that while I went back to try to assist the first victim I had encountered.
Yes.
Commissioner Kochowicz?
Yes.
What I'd like to show you is in Creeps Mark, the state's exhibit A3 for identification. You can actually take a look at it.
So yeah, she's the first cop, it sounds like, that showed up to the scene. So the way she just explained that treehouse is interesting because it does sound like a treehouse, not what I had in my mind.
Did they accurately and correctly reflect the entrance and the stairs of the treehouse?
Yes.
Permission to introduce this evidence such an only.
Any objection? Mr. Tucker, any objection to
No,
this
sir, I'm sorry.
exhibit?
Let me pull the microphone down. No, sir.
All right, so we'll admit it as states.
No, it sounds like
The clerk to mark it, please.
the woman that was deleted was selling substances, and it sounds like these people, a few of them, decided to go in one night and ended up deleting her. And I'm gonna have to hear, but I think there's somebody else that was deleted as well. I'm just learning about this case too. I seen it and I thought, ooh, hey, that looks interesting. So I thought we'd share it. Sounds like they went in with masks. And then Buddy is saying that there's corruption. So this is why he's ended up defending himself, is, of course, everybody else is corrupt in his mind. Dandy and I were just talking. How awkward. I don't even think she was the property owner. I think she was renting the spot or something along those lines. And I do believe he was homeless at the time, staying in shelters. No, I could be wrong. This is the understanding I'm getting from what I'm hearing.
Deputy Mullen, while the jury is looking at the photos, could you kind of describe what they're looking at? Is that the steps leading into the treehouse?
Yes. So if I remember correctly, it was essentially like one flight of stairs and then almost like a landing platform and then another flight. And then I don't recall if there was a turn at the very end up to the top, but there may have been.
And just so I'm clear, you indicated that you encountered the first victim with.
I'm just trying to see if I can find
landing, correct?
Yes.
pictures of that.
One moment, Your Honor.
All right.
So this is the tree house.
I know the jurors are the state's first exhibit, but the state has no further questions for Deputy Mullen.
All right, so.
So this happens somewhere.
Have cross-examination. We'll let the jurors, each of them, have an opportunity to review the exhibit. And then we'll give cross-examination opportunity.
I'm just trying to see if there's any more pictures I can show you guys, but that right now, let me see. So yeah, this leads up. They've got it marked, I see, but I don't know who did he get married to a lady with purple hair? I'm not sure who this is. Maybe they'll give us an explanation. I'm just looking for something else. So I'm sure we'll find out who this is. Looks like he got married, maybe? The treehouse. So yeah, it's looks like oh, look at that one. No, I don't think that's it. So I know there was 2 others involved, but again, it's something that we're gonna have to because yeah, I've got 2 others, a black fellow and a Caucasian guy along with him in one of these
Can return
pictures.
them to the exhibit. We can return them to the clerk. State's completed direct examination. Mr. Tucker, did you care to cross-examine the witness?
Yes, sir.
Lead detective claims his boss coached witnesses and fabricated evidence. So I think this is possibly the second. Oh, guys, we're learning together. Yeah.
Okay, that night, do you remember?
Yeah, they were
approximately
staying in a
what time?
shelter.
You know, what
Yeah,
time you
there's a
arrived on
picture.
scene,
I'll
what time
bring it
you
up,
got
but
to the
I
treehouse?
don't know for sure if
I don't
it's.
recall the exact time, no.
Just, how about
I'll show
approximately?
you the one I've got.
You got anything in there?
Want to say maybe it was like, I'd be guessing. I think it's like, 8 p.m., something like that. But,
Okay, we can always look at it.
yeah.
You both need to keep your voices up, please.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Your Honor. Okay, so you get to the treehouse and Paul's the second victim that you come across, correct? It's if you come across Matt first.
Correct.
Okay. And how long before backup shows up? Approximately.
So those are the ones that.
Approximately
No, I don't know if it's these 2 that were
20
convicted,
minutes
but I know a
or
couple
maybe
have
30
already
minutes.
been dealt with.
Another deputy showed up to assist me with clearing the property.
Okay. And did you guys actually clear the property, check, make sure there's no more suspects, anything like that?
I had done that prior to the deputy arriving on scene.
Would that be on your body cam?
Yes, sir.
Okay, check. Okay, so now you're at the property, you've done your sweep, you've got backup, correct?
Can't hear him very well.
And I would assume the ambulance shows up before or after that?
Yes, sir. The ambulance showed up minutes after I got there.
Minutes after you got there. I seem to remember that too. Okay.
Speak up.
Now, let's see, after that, what did you do after that? After you went ahead and cleared the property, after the ambulance came, they took Paul to the hospital, if I remember correctly, right?
Correct.
So what was your duty after that?
I remained on scene. I started a crime scene log. I believe I taped off the immediate structure of the treehouse itself, and then also the entrance to the property.
Okay.
Asked anybody who was in the property to come outside of the property. I tried to identify everybody that was on scene or that I came into contact with. That was essentially.
You secured the scene, basically, yeah. Right? And what does securing the scene? What does that actually entail? What is it? Why do we do that?
To not contaminate the scene, to not have people in and
Matthew
out.
Benet was deleted on Florida property called the Treehouse on November 17th, 2007.
It's walked away with or tainted,
Court
right?
TV, this
safety, make sure everything.
Right, and safety, obviously, right? Okay, and now was there evidence just found on property?
No, I believe no.
I agree.
Found on the street
I
itself.
think there's 2.
Okay. Was that ever blocked off? Was it ever roped off so that the evidence would stay secure?
Yes. Once other units detectives got to the scene, at one point they did block off most of the street, from what I recall.
And about how long did that take?
For them to arrive, or
for them to block off the street?
I don't recall.
Do you remember anybody walking away with evidence?
Walking away with the
Like
evidence?
picking up evidence off the street and walking away with it?
The only person I saw that handled evidence would be the crime scene tech from Key West.
Okay, that would be
Detective Mitchell.
Yeah, if I remember right. Okay.
Yes.
And so he was the one who handled the evidence once he got there. Right?
In my
You can't hear this very well, can you? And I mean, like I said, I'm
And then
Frank.
after that, what did you do after that? You know, I know you started the crime scene log, you secured the scene, at least the immediate scene, right? The
Correct.
treehouse itself.
Correct.
And then what'd you do after that?
I believe I, assisted the detectives on scene with what they needed. We walked the street, Laurel Avenue, looking for any additional evidence. I did locate a $100 bill on the street. That's what Detective Mitchell came and photographed and collected.
That $100 bill is sus.
Individual
That's
pieces
mine, that cop said?
located. I didn't locate them directly.
But they're basically all the way down the street, right?
From what I recall, it was, yes, going down the street.
Okay, so you're looking for evidence after that. That's, you're basically searching for evidence, checking the scene, making sure guys are covering the whole street.
Make them talk louder, Judge.
Okay. Now you get to the scene, okay, and was I there? Correct. Just we'll go for that right there. Was I present when you got there?
I did not see you, no.
Yeah, okay. And is there any evidence that it was there?
Yeah, that it very well could be.
I mean, that
you there, so-
you know, right? Okay. All right, so nothing there. Now, okay, and you said other people started showing up, other detectives, other officers started showing up, was it
I'm seeing
Detective Mitchell
things
from
like
USPD
on Google,
shows up for
founder of
forensics, correct?
CrossFit,
He did show up, yes.
Okay. And then who else showed up?
co-founder.
Let's see. At the time, Captain Phelps, Detective Pitcher, Detective Malone,
Lauren Janae,
Lieutenant Kellenberger,
CrossFit co-founder.
Detective Fernandez, possibly Captain Smith.
It's quite a few officers, right?
Yes, sir.
Most of them major ranking officers, if I remember correctly.
Yes,
Correct?
sir.
Okay. Now, you said your first encounter was with Todd O'Quinn, correct? With the skinny white guy who ran out.
I believe his name was Todd O'Quinn.
Todd
yes.
O'Quinn,
Yeah.
Todd Sumner O'Quinn is his name. That's his full name. So he's the one who approached you first, but he's not the one who called 911, but he's the one who approached you, correct?
Correct. I believe he was yelling in front of CVS, and some other bystanders contacted 911.
What was he saying to you? Do you remember?
For the exact verbatim, I would have to refer to my body
Sure.
cam.
It's
But
been a long time. I understand.
been.
Believe me, I understand.
2
but
counts of, and then it goes
he told me that there
8.12.13 to
some sort of
B
altercation
with a weapon.
believe he
1
said
count
he saw
tampering,
s-
first degree felony, 2
Mr.
counts
Bonnet being stabbed.
commit, second degree felony wearing a
saw a
mask. 3 counts
white
person
suspect and a
uses
black suspect.
deadly weapon.
Do you remember the circumstances?
1 count
the
of
white
deleting,
suspect, the white
not
suspect?
premeditated during
Remember any of
specific
what he said about it?
felony.
Again, I would have to refer to the body cam because that would give an exact recording.
Right, that definitely helps.
Key West.
And we may do that. We'll see. Now, prior to all this happening, before you even got to the treehouse, before you even got the call, what were you doing before that?
Yeah, this guy is representing
I
himself.
believe I
Franklin
was
Tyrone Tucker.
patrolling the trap yard in the area called La Curva prior to.
An area called what? I'm sorry.
It's called La Curva. It's a trap yard.
Oh,
on
La Curva?
Fifth
Yeah, I
Avenue.
know La Curva.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe I was patrolling there prior to getting the call.
Okay. Okay. And how
Yes,
long
ma'am.
did you say you were doing that?
Again, it would be a guess, but approximately 15, 20 minutes.
Were you ever in the CVS parking lot that night?
I could have been prior to.
Do you know approximately how long?
No.
What if I told you maybe hours? maybe an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, just prior to the crime?
But that could be, yeah.
Just checking. Okay. And did you go into CVS then?
Need to crank up your volume, guys. I'm not hearing them very well. And like I said, I've got everything is cranked.
Not at all.
But I don't have a direct recollection, but if I was there, I probably went in and maybe got snacks or.
Yeah, see, I could see that. I could definitely see that. Okay. All right. So we know where you were before. We know where you went afterwards. And okay, so you're searching, and everybody else shows up, and they start searching, right? What about the other investigators? What are they doing? Because were they all searching on Laurel, or did they go other places? I mean, did they do anything else that you know of?
I know some units responded to a property on 2nd, but I wasn't there. I don't know who responded.
Was it the warehouse property?
Yes.
Okay, so it was the warehouse property. Now, when I say the warehouse property, you and I know what that means. I'm not sure the jury knows what that means. It's on 2nd Street. Could you please just describe it for them just so that they have an understanding of it?
Yes, it's on 2nd Street in Stock Island. It's essentially a big warehouse. It's like an aluminum or metal sided building, pretty large, and I believe there's it's sectioned off, or at least it is now, into separate areas.
Now, was the interest at 2nd Street or the 2nd Street warehouse? Do you know?
I believe at the time, the information that I was able to put out and receive from the victim was that there was a suspect that possibly resided there.
Ended up being true, did it?
I actually don't know if they found him. I don't know the results.
Did you show up for when was it they brought Rory Wilson in? Were you there for that?
No,
I know that the people were masked, so it was hard to decide. I don't know whether you were there or not, so I'm just asking.
Yes, I was not.
Okay, just checking. Okay, so you got, there's
Tony, how you doing, American?
Street warehouse, but you're not one of them. You're still back at the.
I stayed at the scene the whole time.
Okay, you're at the scene. Okay, so we'll go ahead. Okay, is there any other involvement you had in the investigation beyond, that initial night?
The very next night, I was on patrol again, and I got called.
So that might be the fellow that
at the end of the road
they're saying was with
because
him.
they had found a knife in their yard.
Not guilty.
Okay, where was it?
Well, that's yet to be shown. Let's see.
Was it in the mobile home park, or was it,
Yes, at the time there was a mobile home park there called Ocean's Edge.
Tony.
Water's Edge.
Water's Edge?
One of
Yeah,
the Water's Edge.
you're right, absolutely correct.
And it was one of the trailers that was on, I guess, is that 2nd Street, right at the end of Laurel Avenue there.
I seem to remember which one. Now, did you stay there and collect the knife, or did somebody else come and do that?
No, I responded. I saw the knife, and I contacted Detective Pitcher at the time, I believe was the lead detective, and then Key West Detective Mitchell came and collected the knife.
Now, at the crime scene, who would you say was actually in charge of the crime scene? Who was actually running the show?
I know that Key West PD Detective Mitchell was doing the collection, but
For
beyond
the forensics
that,
part, yeah.
beyond that, I don't know who.
I mean,
running.
normally it would have been Sergeant Kellenberger's job, correct? I mean, I know a little bit about MCSO protocol. I don't know.
He would be
I don't know nearly as much as you, obviously.
He would be the supervisor of the.
He would have been the supervisor, right? Okay, and but there were people there, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and did people from the state attorney's office show up at the crime scene?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how about, did they ever have a suspect at the crime scene?
Treehouse, Tony.
Not that I recall.
Okay. Do you remember Anathea Clay?
I believe she showed up on a bicycle at one point.
Okay, was she a suspect in the crime?
Not that I'm aware of. I know she was mentioned by Miss Belmonte that she knew the suspect.
Okay, but I'm not trying to tell you what to say or anything like that. I'm just trying to see if we can both remember here, because I remember correctly, didn't Paula come out of the treehouse when she's holding her neck and screaming? Isn't that the first name that comes out of her?
I'm going to sustain it.
Okay.
That's not an evidence.
Okay.
Whoa.
You do remember the Anthea, that she was mentioned by Paula.
Yes.
Okay. And she was eventually brought to the crime scene, correct?
I remember her showing up on a bicycle.
Okay. And did anybody get a statement?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. I'm not saying you do. I'm just, because I don't know which officers did everything, so I just trying to get my knowledge here. So you don't know whether anybody took a statement from her.
Objection asked and answered.
I'll overrule the objection.
That was just rhetorical. I'm sorry. But she wasn't arrested, correct? Or that you know of?
Not that I know of on the scene, no.
And did you have any other parts of this investigation beyond those initial days?
Yes. A few days later.
Okay, a few days later, and
I was on shift again, and I got
This
called
is
for
the first witness.
arresting you.
Opening statements took about 5 seconds.
whatever. I'm not going to hold it against you.
I appreciate it.
Now, and then well beyond that, was there anything else you did for this investigation?
Yes, it was much later in the investigation. I was actually a detective at the time.
I wouldn't want to mess with her. She
and I was a
looks
plainclothes
like she's a
detective.
strong lady.
My partner and I at the time were asked to locate Miss Anthea Clay. And then separately, my partner and I at one time, went to Miami to pair up with, our whole unit did, to pair up with Miami-Dade detectives in an attempt to locate another person to serve a subpoena. My involvement with that, though, was literally show up and then we were dismissed. So we went home.
So just go there, go home.
Yeah, I didn't have much.
I'm sorry about that. I'm sure it wasn't fun. Okay, but the Anthea Clay thing, back to that one. So what was the intention of when you went to go, engage Anthea on this time?
Yeah, he's doing pretty good. I was surprised. I am surprised.
Boss of the unit I was in, like higher ranking.
Right. Yeah.
And she asked my partner and I for assistance with locating Miss Anthea Clay. And she knew, or she had an idea of where she lived or would be seen. So we were playing clothes. So we set up and we watched. And when we located her, the captain made contact with her, and I believe she brought her in for interview.
Right. Did she act surprised, right? Like that to see you guys, or?
I don't recall.
And you remember being brought in for the interview. Were you there for any of it, or?
I did not. I waited outside.
Okay. So that's the extent of your involvement, though, that I know. Correct?
As best as I can recall right now, yes.
And that you know. Okay, great. No further questions, John. Thank you, Miss Detective. Sorry, Detective. I want to call you Detective because I remember you being a detective before too. Deputy Muller. Thank you.
Is there a redirect examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, I mean, I expected another Daryl Brooks.
Mr. Tucker asked you about the actual time that you arrived on scene and were dispatched. And I know at this point it's been, 6 years?
You're smart.
Is there anything that would refresh your recollection if you take a look at it, maybe your report?
Either my report or my body cam would very much refresh my recollection.
Yeah, not usually. Not usually. So if we do enjoy this content, tomorrow I'm going live with Dylan from the alternate corner, and we're going to talk about Karen Reed.
Yes, sir.
And then what I'll do is I'll
Have
jump
your
on this.
recollection refreshed.
We are
Say so,
enjoying
and then the prosecutor can retrieve the report and you can testify from your refreshed recollection.
Yes, sir. I'm refreshed.
It doesn't usually end up good.
I was dispatched at 2018.
Okay, in layman's terms, what
That
time
is 8:18 p.m.
Okay, very well. Mr. Tucker asked you if he was on the scene when you arrived. Was Rory Wilson there?
Not that I recall. No,
Was Travis Johnson there?
no sir.
Were any of the alleged perpetrators there?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
You indicated that on the second night you were on duty, correct?
Correct.
And you dispatched, I guess, to a mobile home that was referred to as Water's Edge?
The trailer park itself is, yeah. Or was.
And that's where the knife.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, Judge. I have nothing.
Right. So may this witness be excused or is she held subject to recall?
She may be excused, Your Honor.
Whoa, that's that.
Thank you. You can step down. Be
Thank you, sir.
excused.
This might be fast. I don't know. I know there's 3 witnesses today.
So, members of the jury, I think this is a good time for our morning break. So let's talk about the basic ground rules for the break. You don't have to stay in the jury.
Can you imagine?
If you want to walk around a little bit, stretch outside the jury room, you may do so. Just let the bailiffs know who wants to go outside the jury room. They will escort you through the secure portion. You can then
So after their break, we'll take another look back there. So yeah, this is the treehouse. I'm really not finding a lot on it, really. And like Dandy said, we know about $100 bill, and it sounds like a cop decided he was going to claim that. Yeah, let me see what else I can find. It says CrossFit co-founder. The defendant is representing himself in court as one of the people charged with pointy object, a man to death during a robbery in the property in Florida known as the Treehouse. The case against Franklin Tyrone Tucker, 52, caught attention in part because his childhood friend, a CrossFit co-founder, Lauren Janai, bailed him out and then married him. Okay, so we were kind of wondering. So there we go. Put that into perspective a little bit. Deputies in Monroe, okay, let me just get rid of this. Deputies in Monroe County, Florida said that Tucker and Rory Detroit Wilson approached the Treehouse property on Stock Island in November 2017 wearing skull masks. They walked in on a man and woman drinking and held them at pointy object. It escalated to Wilson cutting the woman in the neck and hand while Tucker held the man at weapon point. Then the robbers encountered Matthew Benet, who was attacked 5 times and his nose was broken during a fatal confrontation. Jurors convicted Wilson in December 2022 of first-degree M and robbery with a deadly weapon while masked. He is serving a life sentence without parole. Okay. The third defendant, Travis Johnson, was arrested as the getaway driver. He pled guilty in 2023 to robbery with a weapon while masked and aggravated, with a deadly weapon while masked. Johnson, who testified against Wilson, has agreed to do the same against Tucker. The suspects took $250 from the robbery. Discussing Tucker's decision to represent himself, Key West citizen reporter Ted Lund told Law and Crime Sidebar that there had been a breakdown in communication between Tucker and his lawyers. There was mention of a possible plea for time served that Mr. Tucker just absolutely was not willing to accept. he said, having noted that a gag order obscured matters. Oh, no, another gag order. And they didn't feel good, in good conscience, that they could represent him anymore. He also noted that the relationship between Tucker and Janai is strained. The couple is estranged. Oh, really? Okay, well, that gives us a little bit of perspective. So he's not even getting along with his bride when this was. When that was written. So 2 counts with weapon, 1 count tampering, first-degree felony, 2 counts commit second-degree felony wearing a mask, 3 counts person using a weapon, and 1 count M not premeditated during specific felony. Yeah, I mean, let's see here. No, it doesn't. Have a good night. Good night, Douglas. Guess if you're going to prison for life, defending yourself isn't going to hurt. Well, there's that. There is that. So it looks like they're going to be getting back together here, or getting their poop in a group here in a couple minutes. Letting everybody stretch their legs out. So yeah, it looks like the other 2 have already been dealt with. And this guy, in his mind, is going to get off. Matthew Benet was deleted on a Florida property called the Treehouse, November 17th, 2017. And here we are at 2023, and we are going to trial, first day of trial. Probably due to all the drama that's been going on. I have to say, I like that screensaver. I don't get out much. Yeah, although he was, I mean, his verbiage was awesome. His stance was awesome. He was looking good coming across, I thought, good. I still don't think it's a wise idea to ever defend yourself. Like, no, don't do it. Fire your team and get another one, but don't do it yourself. Especially if you, in your mind, think you're innocent. Like, come on. But yeah, it's like you said. I guess if he's going to prison for life, may as well defend himself. I'm going to be interested to see what comes out as far as stuff that's been happening in the background. See if it comes out in this particular trial. And it sounds like one of his cohorts is willing to testify against him. So, and as far as I know, like I said, there's only 3 witnesses today. So, or I'm sorry, people giving testimony. And first one was fast. Opening statements was like zippy. So what did you think of Teresa Black's verdict? Were you surprised by that, or was that what you were expecting? It's a nice courtroom, big. Yeah, they've had a couple of them, like I said, that are called the Treehouse M. Franklin Moore. Franklin Tyrone Tucker, sorry. Rory Detroit Wilson. The pair had brought a weapon with a plan of stealing her purse, but wound up fighting with others who happened to be at the property at the same time. Prosecutors say that Benet came upstairs while this robbery was in progress. A struggle ensued, leaving Matthew Benet with a broken nose and 5 wounds that resulted in his passing. Over the course of their investigation, detectives learned that Tucker and Wilson might have been sent to rob Belmont as retaliation for a substance debt that was owed to another, and Anathea Clay, aka April. Okay. Well, much of the witness testimony ties Wilson to the scene, including a lineup where Belmont identified him as her attacker. A third man told police about Tucker's connection. John Travis Johnson, who was allegedly hired to drive the getaway car, told police that Tucker had actually initiated the robbery after learning that Belmont had a large sum of money at the treehouse. Tucker and Wilson asked Johnson to drive them, and he agreed to do so, oh my God, for a tank of gas. Johnson told police that after he heard one of the victims shout for police, he drove away without waiting for the others. Tucker had been represented by attorneys for much of the process leading up to his trial, but filed a motion on September 20th, 2023, requesting to be allowed to proceed without attorneys. Okay, this is how this worked. He asked to be either allowed to continue pro se or to allow him to hire an experienced attorney to assist himself in self-representation. In the motion, he referenced irreconcilable differences with his current attorneys. The defendant has no interest in negotiating a plea deal with the state, and the state has yet to express any interest in dismissing the charges, so trial seems to be inevitable. Yes, here we sit. That's the thing. Yeah, you're exactly right, Tony. You're exactly right. They're just going zip, 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 zip. Yes, this is basically homeless people after cash. And while doing so, they deleted somebody. Buddies. Buddy? So that is why we're here now, I guess. Got rid of his lawyers and wants to deal with this himself, and here we are. They're taking a long break, longer than I expected. Tucker has accused the prosecution and even the judge of working against him. A letter sent to the judge on September 24th, 2019, accused the Monroe County Sheriff's Office of masterminding the robbery with a confidential informant. In the letter, Tucker told the judge, "This is the United States, and by all accounts, you are a criminal involved in a matter larger criminal enterprise. Will you ever be prosecuted? Probably not. But that's not going to stop me from fighting you. I am an innocent man, and I know I will never get a fair trial in Monroe County. I know the only hope I have is if some outside agencies decides to shut this circus down." Wilson was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole on December 21st, 2022. After a jury convicted him of charges of robbery and homicide. Wilson is appealing that decision. I wonder if I can get this letter. It's let's see what it says. So this has been going on for a while. So yeah, back on October 5th, Judge Mark Jones on Wednesday, October 4th, granted a motion to withdraw from the accused Treehouse M. And Tucker's attorneys and agreed to allow him to represent himself during the trial beginning early this year. And here we sit. Jones also denied Tucker's motion for a hybrid defense, meaning that he would appear pro se, but wanted to have an attorney present during the trial to advise him. Here's another one, like accused of deleting ex-boyfriend in a treehouse. Back away from suitcases, back away from tree houses. Are you kidding me? Masked woman convicted of deleting her ex in a treehouse. Julia Enright. This was back in 2021, 2022. Oh, and in here, this is back in 2021, it's saying that the latest twist in Florida's Treehouse M is a possible lawsuit in the form of a bombshell civil suit. So this is, they call him Ty Tucker. Yeah, it says he's innocent and is prepping a potential lawsuit in Florida against Monroe County Sheriff Office, as well as members of the county state attorney's office. So this was like January 15th, 2021. So the husband of CrossFit co-founder Lauren Janai. So she got him out of the Huskow. He was released on a $2 million bail put up by Janai just before the pair was originally meant to marry inside inside the Stock Island Detention Center. Whoa. There's lots going on in the background of this case. So one article said that they were separated. I do not know if that's the case, but this would be Franklin Tyrone Tucker and his wife. So we know that the other two are already in the Huskow, panned for their crimes. Got a little bit of weight on him there. Must have just gotten out of the Huskow. They all work out when they get in there, don't they? I'm clean. No, you're not. I'm pumped. Yes, you are. So, according to civil documents filed in Florida, Tucker now claims he has several causes of action to file against members of the local sheriff's department and state attorney's office, including false arrest, malicious prosecution, various civil rights claims, defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and others. So we'll have to take a look. I'll have to see if he actually went through with this stuff. These were his threats back in 2021. There's a lot on this other case. I can't believe there's more than one that's called that, right? That doesn't look much like a treehouse. No, thank you. They just said denied. You've looked here too often. Treehouse, the investigator. So this was back in 2019 as well, though. Ty Tucker has claimed he's being framed. He's accused of attacking Matthew Benet to death one night in November 2017. Matt was an old eccentric. He used to go around Stock Island on a unicycle, and his treehouse on Laurel Avenue was known for its its live and let live sort of style. Well, for frail old Paula, an alleged sea dealer living under a blue tarp on the top deck, I was wondering, because I mean, I'd heard something about things being under this tarp.
Him that they're having a difficult time hearing you. So,
Okay.
I'll try to speak into the microphone, Your Honor.
definitely be to your benefit.
Can't hear you either, Judge.
Speak louder or into the mic.
Does this sound better, Your Honor? Actually, is there any way to turn this up?
That sounds better. I think
No, it doesn't sound better.
referring to
Sounds like shite.
and questioning witnesses, and you tend to be a bit soft-spoken, so.
Okay, I'll try and speak louder.
Yeah. All right, so we've got all the jurors in the jury room. The state's got their next witness standing by.
Yes, Your Honor.
So let's bring the jurors back.
Let's do this. Juror number 2 of 3 today. Witness 2 out of 3. It doesn't have to be, one of these international cases to learn about what goes on in a courtroom with these things. So I find this equally as interesting. And then you got a guy that's defending himself. It's like, what? What? Don't do it. He's doing pretty good, though. I must say, better than expected. So that look, is it arrogance, confidence? What is that look that he gives off there?
Thank you. Please be seated, everyone.
I'm looking forward to Koberger, Richard Allen, all those ones as well. Karen Reed.
Welcome back to the courtroom, members of the jury. I hope you enjoyed your break. At this particular point in time, we're back on the record. We're going to resume with presentation of the state's case in chief. So, counsel, your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, still call Detective Marcus Del Valle.
All right, Detective Marcus Del Valle.
How's your weather, Tony? Dandy and I were talking about it a while ago. We're sitting at, if we want to go with feels like minus 39 Celsius, but it is minus 27 Celsius. Douglas is so good. He's in Australia and he still pops in. Complete different schedule. I appreciate all of you guys.
Come forward through the gate, approach the deputy right in front of the witness
Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you have not yet.
A bit closer there. That's good. Turn, face the clerk, raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in the cause now in hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and what you got?
Yes, ma'am. Please have a seat on the witness stand.
Permission to proceed, Your Honor.
Yes.
Detective, good morning.
Good morning.
Please state your name and spell your last name for the jury, please.
Marcus Del Valle, last name is Delvalle.
And how are you currently employed?
Usually.
Where are you currently employed?
City of Key West Police Department.
And how long have you been employed with the City of Key West Police Department?
Since 2012, and prior to that, a year and a half as a reserve officer.
Okay. And I'd like to direct your attention to November 17th of 2017. Were you working as a detective at that time?
Yes.
And did you have an opportunity to respond out to alleged incident in Stock Island?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what was your role out there?
I was called in. I was off that day, but I was called in by the sergeant on the unit. There had been an incident that occurred, and they needed somebody to process the scene. We already have one detective out there that worked for QS Police, and they needed a second one, so I responded to assist him in processing the scene.
Do you remember what the name of that other detective was?
Stephen Mitchell.
Okay, very well. Please describe for the jury your responsibilities and duties in processing the scene. What does that entail?
I'm one of the field evidence technicians. In processing the scene is picking up evidence, documented evidence, taking measurements and whatever needs to be done to processing, which includes also photographing the scene.
Okay. When you responded there, did you respond to what's commonly referred to as a treehouse?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and did you have an opportunity to walk through the scene?
Briefly, I did. When I got there, I met up with Detective Mitchell, and he gave me a little tour of what was going on. There was two scenes, one outside, one inside. I took a walk through the treehouse, which was a wooden structure, and walked through. He showed me what was going on so I could get just what was going on. And yes, I did walk through it.
Okay. Permission to approach the witness, Your Honor.
Yes.
So it sounds like she was up top there, under those tarps. Messy snow there too, Tony. Yeah, I don't like it when it's slick either, Dandy. My vehicle's in four-wheel and it's not coming out till spring.
Thank you. Appreciate that. One more, right? Or is that the last one? That's the last one. Yeah, we're good.
Permission to approach the witness.
Yes.
Detective, I had to show you previously marked State's Exhibit B 12 for identification. Ask you to take a look at the photos.
Yeah, it's interesting looking. Can you imagine? Like, it does sound like she was living under those tarps. Florida, I guess, but wow. The land of the palmetto bugs. Have you guys ever seen one of those? A palmetto bug? You don't wanna. You haven't? You don't wanna. Mina Monsters lives out there, and her and I have talked about those monstrosity of bugs that crawl around that area. They look like big cockroaches. They are big cockroaches. Oh, they're nasty, Tony. I remember I was going, it was evening and I was going to go into the pool. I went
Yes, that's
an outside pool.
beginning with the first photo is going to be the
I turned on the light in the dressing
interior
room
looking out
and they just
of the property.
scattered.
And then the rest of it's going to be going up the stairs up to the area where they had the couch located at. We walked through that. I walked up the staircase and then back up down, and then that was pretty much what I'd done on that portion of the treehouse itself.
Would be safe to say that's the walkthrough portion, correct?
Yes, yeah, it was the walkthrough that I'd done.
And do they accurately and fairly on the night of the incident?
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
true, Tony. I seen one run across a buffet one day. Oh my God. Ugh.
Any objection?
Nope.
All right, no. Let's
And then
move on.
don't they carry their eggs on their
The
backs or
ID
something?
Exhibit into evidence as the state's 2A through.
I don't like bugs.
All right. Composite exhibit for state 2A through L. Admitted into evidence.
I find all of this stuff interesting. I know it's not a Koberger. I know it's not a Richard Allen.
A couple of questions.
but-
Do you remember what time you responded more or less that evening?
I like the education
To
of
the
seeing
minute I
how
can.
this
It was
works.
later. It was late afternoon, like maybe 7 or 8 o'clock. I can't remember exact time.
Towards the end of the day, correct?
It was towards the end of the day. Yes, sir.
It is interesting. I've said this a couple times. I almost expected another Daryl Brooks episode, but this guy seems to have his ish together so far. $2 million bond. Wow.
Let's show you the first photograph here. Is that the entrance to the actual treehouse?
That's the entrance into the yard.
To the yard?
Yes, and this is going to be the yard here. That's going up to that's. I think that's the first floor of the tree house that's going.
You got to
up.
try to speak up, please.
I'm sorry, sir. That's the first floor. That's the stairs going up to the first floor. That's part of the deck. I don't know exactly which part, but that's part of the deck. Stairs going up again. So it was three sets. I believe it was 3 sets, and that's the area where they were staying at.
It's like a makeshift bed.
Yeah, makeshift bed that they had, like a little common area that they were staying at. Same. This is all the same floor.
Makeshift living areas, correct?
Yes, sir. And that same thing there, the bed in the back that they were staying at.
We should publish these photos, John.
Yes.
I just, like we were saying earlier, how awkward being a cop, detective, whatever, being interviewed on the stand by your suspect. That to me is just, I don't know. I wouldn't want to be in that position. That last one, I mean, how do you not feel a little bit angry? This guy's got a soft tone about him. He's not getting all revved up or anything, but still, I don't know. Watching that Daryl Brooks, honest to God, watching that guy go and everybody that had to deal with him, it blew me away. It blew me away. Like literally, this guy seems to have the right verbiage, and he doesn't seem to have a lawyer sitting anywhere near him to help him out. Yep, battle of wits. I hope they do speak up a little bit more. It's been difficult hearing them. I'm not finding pictures of the victims.
Does the treehouse have running water or electricity?
I don't think it had any no running water and no. I know for sure no electricity.
Okay. Now, that was your first part of your investigation, just taking a walk through and just kind of surveying what was going on inside and make sure everything was okay and secured. You would agree with me that one of your responsibilities as a crime scene investigator is to secure the scene and make sure that the scene and the the evidence, if there's any, would be safe, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please explain for the
It
jury.
sure is,
what's the
Dandy.
next part of
Holy.
this investigation.
Next part, when just to clarify, when I arrived on scene, the sheriff's department already had the scene secured with crime scene tape, and it was kind of isolated to that area where it happened at. I went outside there was two scenes. One was the inside of the property, which Detective Mitchell processed. The second portion of that was the outside, which was the street, all the way down to running east on the main.
So it sounds like this Franklin Tyrone Tucker is basically saying that he's been framed, but he has been set up. And I think ultimately that's what we're going to find he's using as his defense.
Street. So I started picking up evidence that was laying in the street that was part of the scene. That was my primary task in that scene, was collecting the outside evidence.
Do you remember what type of evidence you collected on the outside of the scene?
Yeah, there was, prior to me getting there, there was Detective Mitchell collected a $100 bill that was laying outside. He showed it to me.
This $100 bill seems to be
Then
a
I
thing.
went down the street. I collected numerous amount of change, quarters, dimes, nickels. There was a lot of personal items as far as makeup that was strewn through the whole street that I started marking and photographing and collecting. But it was mainly personal items, and it appeared to be like from possibly a female's purse.
Did you ever have an opportunity to speak to Ms. Belmonte?
I spoke to no one on the scene.
Okay.
Sounds like it. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I do believe. Yeah, he bolted. Yeah, he's out of there.
Yes, that's the same property, and that's the mailbox going to the property.
Is that the outside?
Yeah, yes, sir.
I'm not finding this evidence for you guys. I've been looking.
Exterior park as it were on the evening in question.
Yes, sir.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Admit that exhibit is states next in order, which I believe would be 3A.
Yeah, definitely went sideways on them. I don't think that I don't think they expected any of this by the sounds of things. I think it got really, really out of hand.
Where the next thing
All over a purse.
that evening.
That evening was collect all the items that were strewn on the street. We photographed it, like I said, photographed it, documented it, collected it, packaged it, and then we passed it on to the detectives that were with Monroe County Sheriff's Office.
Always good to see you, JJ.
The street you referred to, what street was that?
I believe Laurel.
Laurel?
Yes, sir.
Could we get the two that's sitting on the rail? If we're finished,
Yes.
those, we can bring those over to the clerk and thank you. We've got 3 marked now.
Commissioner Focus.
Yes.
Do you know much about this one, James?
What time did you
Robbery gone sideways,
finish on the
and
scene that
he
evening?
is
Do you remember?
defending himself.
That evening, I believe it was like 11 o'clock at night, 11:30 at night. It was late.
Did you have an opportunity to go back the next day, or did you need to go back the next day for anything?
The next day I did go back. It was later, excuse me, later in the afternoon. I did go back. Detective Mitchell called me. He had been called out because they had found some other evidence in a yard. So I responded and assisted Detective Mitchell. as
Good
he
you,
collected
Tony.
some
I never
evidence.
thought of that.
Let's hold it right there and let him finish.
Okay.
So I'll put a picture of it up again. This is what they're calling the treehouse. And a woman was living up in that turfed area. These guys got together allegedly and wanted the money that was in her purse. She allegedly had money on her. Well, things went sideways. The getaway driver takes off. They end up deleting people. It's just, now this guy is defending himself, saying that he's framed. 2 other people are locked up. So 2 in the Hooskow, and this guy's going right now up against the court. So it does sound like he, whoever, they dropped money all the way down the street. All the stuff that was contents in this purse. Breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs. Yeah, got to agree with you. That's kind of the take we're having as well. Never ends up well, but this guy is doing a lot better than
Bill Valley, I'm sorry. The next day you went back out because did you
No.
received a call from
he's
Detective
doing better
Mitchell?
than Daryl
Yes.
Brooks.
And what was the purpose of that call?
Sheriff Department, I guess, had gotten a call from a gentleman that owned a trailer on the property, that he had found possible evidence in his yard off of Laurel Avenue. If you go down, I guess to the east, to the end of the street, there's a trailer there at the time. And he had called that he had found evidence, which was a knife.
Okay, so did you respond to the scene?
Yes, I responded there and met up with Detective Mitchell, who was already on the scene. He was in the process of taking pictures of the knife that was in a planter.
So you assisted Detective Mitchell in recovering the knife?
Yes, sir.
And do you know exactly where the knife was located on the
The
property?
knife was located on this gentleman's property. As you walk into the property, to the left of the property, there was like a planter, and the knife was sitting inside of the planter.
Permission to approach the witness, Your Honor.
Yes.
Detective I'd like to show you in previous mark the state's D5 for identification and national.
Yes, sir.
And what are those pictures of?
This is the knife that was inside of the planter. It is still sitting in the planter, but it's a knife that did have what appeared to have blood on it.
Is that the knife you recovered? You assisted?
Yeah, I assisted. Yes, sir.
Did you recover on the scene the next day?
Yes, sir.
And if very inaccurate reflects the description and
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Time to move the exhibit into evidence. States, I would say 4.
Any objection?
No.
Permission to publish.
Well, let's admit it as 4 and How many, 4, 8 through 8?
It does. That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, and it was a purse. Highly technical job.
Yes.
Well, tune this out for a second. Unreal, eh? I mean, 5-year-olds can take purses and get away. Happens all over the place. Second of 3 witnesses. I wonder if the court knows there's no volume. There we go. And then leave a trickle of coins from the scene all the way down the steps onto the road and wherever. Just little breadcrumbs. Here we are. Here's the weapon. Follow me home. Do you know what? Don't they have to sign something? I'm assuming. I mean, Daryl Brooks, I mean, he had to have signed something. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Lexi. Has that one started, Melissa? Lexi, Melissa. Okay. Oh, sorry here. I didn't notice that that was starting until actually after I even started this stream. I looked at, oh, that looks interesting too. No.
Detective Devine, after you and Detective Mitchell secured the knife, what did you do?
Seriously, Tony, that's
Knife
interesting.
was collected. It was boxed, and the Detective Mitchell passed it on to the Monroe County Sheriff's Office detectives with a proper chain of command, custody form and all that.
Do you have any other involvement in this case as far as investigation?
Oh,
As
it's
far
close.
as
Are you going to go,
investigation,
Melissa?
that was it. Prior to, yeah, that was it. We collected that, and I think that was it. Detective Mitchell did collect some stuff before I got there, but I wasn't present for that.
Very well. Thank you for your testimony. I have no further questions, Sean. Stay with Lieutenant.
Cross-examination?
No. Okay, here comes our suspect.
Detective Duvalier, right?
Yes, sir.
We just met outside, right? We just introduced ourselves. First time I've ever met you, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. Now, that investigation, I remember a lot about Stephen Mitchell and what he did. I wasn't sure how much you were there for. Was there any problems with gathering any of the evidence?
No problems at all.
What about tire tracks from the truck?
Tire tracks, yeah, he took a sample of the tire tracks, and due to the
I know other people, same thing, friends. All good.
Kit that we used that was out of date, and it didn't adhere to the tire track that was next to Cosmos. Yes,
Next to the marine.
But that was
it? It's a marina, or
Yes,
is it a
sir.
marina or a marine store?
Marina. I believe
Marina,
they
okay.
work on engines.
But there were tire tracks there. You guys tried to get it.
Yes, and Detective Mitchell tried to pick them up. Adhere them. It's a form that you put on there, and it's use like plaster of Paris. Put it on, mix it with water. He's the one that done all that process of doing it, but it didn't adhere to it, so he wasn't able to pick nothing up.
Good to know. I asked Deputy Mueller, same thing. You said when you got there, they'd already blocked off the street? Or was it
Yes,
still
the
just
street
the
was,
street? Or was it
everything
still
was,
the street?
yes, the scene was secured and blocked off.
Okay, it was already secured, blocked off.
Yes, sir.
So you weren't there prior to that,
Prior,
to them blocking off the street?
no, the street, when I got there,
Right.
scene was already blocked off and secured.
Okay.
That was not there.
No pedestrians going
Wait,
through?
wait, we gotta
Yeah.
take one at a
I'm sorry.
time, so.
Yes, sir.
Let him finish, and so we can keep it
Yeah.
separated. Thank you.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
When I got there, that I was called out,
Mhm.
scene was secured, there was yellow tape up, and they had police, deputies were already securing the scene, so I did not get there at the beginning of the call.
Okay. Just checking, because again, I wasn't there, so I don't know. How about,
So yeah, once again, just for anyone who's joining, the suspect is defending himself. So he's he's questioning the different cops that were at the scene. How awkward is that?
did you guys make sure you got all the evidence, from the treehouse, or was there any left over? I mean,
Okay,
that you know.
the treehouse itself.
Yeah, the treehouse property itself.
Detective Mitchell would have to answer that. As far as the outside
The treehouse.
that I could see and saw and documented,
Mhm.
that was all picked up.
Okay.
And that, the only thing that I did collect and helped him collect was the knife.
Okay.
Anything that he collected, you would have to talk to him to see what he put in.
And the knife went into a box and then went to the evidence room? Is that
Yes, sir. That was, once that was collected, all items that were collected, once we collected it, it was turned over to the sheriff department, because we work for the city of Key West.
Right.
We just assisted them and assist other agency. All items that were taken were properly given to the sheriff's department and documented with proper receipts and chain of custody.
How long that took? Curiosity. About how big?
How long? That was done
Yeah.
that night. That was
That
passed over.
same night?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
Good. Now, you said you handled the knife, it went into property. Did it ever go to
The medical examiner?
Yeah.
I
ever make its way to the
cannot
medical
answer
examiner?
that because it's not my case.
Okay.
That's something that the sheriff department.
But you guys boxed it up?
Yeah, all we do is collect it, give it to them. Sheriff department is in charge of the investigation. They're the primary response department.
Yeah.
And the
That's
detectives that are
bothersome
working
to
the
me.
case, the lead detective are the ones that take care of that property, sending it away.
Okay, good. Just want
Yeah, I don't
to
like
make sure
that.
we know where all the
At
evidence
all.
went and what
Okay.
happened there. So that was the extent of your investigation with this, though, right? It's just the
I
crime
guarantee
scene
I'd
when
be
you first
drinking.
got there, the knife, and is there anything else? I think I seem to be forgetting something here.
Pretty much that's all I done. Detective Mitchell did collect a mask and he did put that into evidence, but you'd
But
have
that
to
was
talk to
Detective
him. Yeah,
Mitchell.
you'd have to
Okay.
talk to him about that because he's the one that collected it.
Now, is it normal for you guys to get called out when the sheriff's department investigates something, or is that Or is that kind of abnormal?
We do help each other out, assist other agency, which would be
That makes
helping
sense.
each other out. On this case, I believe the crime scene technician was out. I believe he might have been in the hospital that night. So they didn't have nobody on call to do evidence collection, which is crime scene investigation. So we went out to assist them to help them do it.
Okay, and you guys,
Yeah, I know that's a different case than what we're looking at right now, but Anna is the mother of one of the Delphi victims. She is Abby's mom. Abby was an only child, and this case there is about Richard Allen at this point. And as some of us know, there's a lot of things going sideways with that case, including like the judge, the Supreme Court is involved, all of this stuff. So people attacking Anna, it makes me ill. Leave the woman alone, So sorry I interrupted to say that, but that just breaks my heart. I feel bad for her. I mean, not maybe the wisest decision, but nobody needs to be bothering her.
don't remember taking any DNA or scrapings from Paul Belmont?
All that is going to have to be under Detective Mitchell's.
Okay.
Good. You check his report, everything's in there on that.
I seem to remember it being.
I
fairly
cannot testify to something I did not do.
Okay, no, I'm just checking because
Okay.
I remember I even told you in the hallway. I don't even remember what you did for the most part.
I'm going to object. There's no questions, Counsel. Mr. Tucker trying to testify.
Okay, as I said, we want to take it one step at a time in terms of question, pause, answer. So
Okay, I'll take it a little slower for the prosecution.
for the judge as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Actually, I don't think I have any further questions for the witness. I think you pretty much explained what you did. Thank you. Thank you for your time today.
Is there a redirect examination?
No, Your Honor.
Right, and what about this witness? Is
He may
he
be excused this time.
subject to recall, or he can be excused?
So witness number 2 is finished with, and as far as I know, like I
Step down
said,
and be
3.
excused.
One more to go, or do they call more in? Short day?
Maybe we can approach the bench here a moment, to both sides, and address scheduling.
That's interesting. I wonder why they did that, Melissa. I'll check into it after this case. If it's a short day, I'll maybe do something. So, yeah, that's what she's saying, Mexi. Yep. Yeah, I was just watching that. I was just watching that, James. Like, what? Pretty relaxed. Yeah, Richard isn't going that day with the Supreme Court, is what I've heard. Richard Allen. No, no. Yeah, this guy's being pretty laid back, isn't he?
About scheduling, I like to keep the jurors as apprised as I can in terms of what our schedule is. So the state's going to call their next witness in a moment, and his testimony may have to be broken up before lunch and after lunch. So I figure we'll break for lunch somewhere, 12, 10, 12, 15, something like that. And you have some idea, so for purposes of planning. So state your next witness.
Yes, sir. The state's gonna call Roger.
Yeah, he is Mexi.
All right.
Yeah. His buddies, these two guys, they've already been sentenced. And the one guy got life. And I think the other guy was what? Was he the getaway driver that bolted? Literally the getaway driver bolted. Let's see, I'll go back here. Maybe that'll help.
Sir, would you please come forward right through the gate there? You get close to the deputy right here by the witness stand, this gentleman right here. That's good. Thank you very much. Stay right there. Face this lady. Raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in the cause now in hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right. Have a seat right here on the witness stand and speak loudly and clearly so we all can hear you.
All right. May I proceed?
Yes.
Who's this guy?
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
All right. I'm going to ask you for your name. What's your full name, sir?
Roger Ellen Ruggett.
Ruggett. How do you spell your last name?
Raugutt.
All right, Mr. Ruggett. First of all, good morning to you, sir. Thank you for being here this morning. Mr. Ruggett, I want to talk to you a little bit about an event that happened to you a few years ago. Do you live in Key West?
Yes, I do.
How long have you lived in Key West?
Since '84.
So a long time.
Long time.
And where were you born and raised?
Mobridge, South Dakota.
Okay.
Wow.
You moved to Key West in '84, you said. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
All right. And have you lived in Key West ever since?
Yes, I have.
All right. Are you currently employed?
Oh, yeah.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Ruggett?
I'm over here at the golf course.
Over at the golf course?
Yes.
I'm not
Here in
sure
Key
yet.
West?
Stock Island.
Stock Island? Okay. And what kind of work do you do over there at the golf course?
Maintenance.
Maintenance work?
Cut grass.
How long have you worked there, Mr. Ruggett?
Since '84.
Been there since '84.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, wow.
And do you live down here?
Stock Island, Key West. Yes.
Okay. You have a home or an apartment? What kind of,
I
you live
have
in?
I got a trailer over here.
all right. Now, Mr. Ruggett, you said you've been in Key West since 1984. Is that right?
Oh, yes. '84.
All right.
84.
You've lived your life down here, right?
Been there since 84.
Since '84.
Yeah. '84.
During your lifetime down here, did you become friends with a woman known as Paula Belmonte?
Yes, I have.
All right. Why don't you tell the jury, how did you become friends with Miss Belmonte?
We partied together.
You partied together.
Yes.
All right. Tell us about that. What does that mean when you say you partied together?
Well, we had drank, smoked.
All right. Well, let's break that down. You said you drank. You drank alcohol?
Yes.
What kind of alcohol did you drink with her?
Bud Light.
Did she also drink Bud Light?
Occasionally.
Was beer your beverage of choice?
Yes.
All right. What about hard alcohol? Did you used to intake any hard alcohol?
Captain Morgan.
All right.
Rum.
Good choice.
And what about Miss Belmonte? Did she also enjoy hard liquor too?
No, I don't think so.
Nope. She stuck to the beer?
Yeah.
All right. Now you said you used to party together, right?
Yeah.
How often would you get together with her to party? Daily, weekly, once a month?
Yeah. Well, yeah. 3 times a month or 3 times a month.
Right.
Something.
3 times a week?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
All right. And when you'd party with her, where would you party?
That is so funny because everyone that's came in has said the exact
Okay, you said your
same
place, you
thing.
have a trailer over on Stock Island, right?
Yes, I do.
What was her place? Like, where did you used to party with her when you went to her place?
different places, where she used to live.
Did she have a permanent home?
So I'll just show the treehouse one more time. I know the camera guy, right? So this is the treehouse. And from, if I'm understanding it properly, the tarped area was where her home was.
Not really. No, she moved around quite a bit, like me.
Was she ever homeless?
Oh yeah, I'm sure she was.
Living on the streets?
Uh-huh. Yes, she was.
And you guys would still get together and party and what have you?
Yes, we would.
Now, you said you used to party together and you said you used to drink, right?
Yes.
And you said you guys used to also smoke.
Yes.
What did you guys smoke? Tobacco?
Tobacco.
All right. Did you ever do any hard drugs with her?
Like coke and crack.
Like cocaine? Yes, sir.
Yeah, we smoked crack and snorted coke and smoked cigarettes and.
You smoked crack with her? Did you
Whoa.
smoke the crack?
Yes.
Did she used to smoke crack as well?
Yes.
We're talking about crack cocaine, right?
Yes.
And how do you smoke it? You
Wow.
smoke it, you put it, you heat it up? How do you do that?
I would have no
put it in
clue.
a stem. They call it
Well,
a
thank you.
stem. And then you light it up and puff.
And that's how you get the high from ingesting the smoke, I guess, from it?
Yeah, you get high from just your smoke.
All right. And you said you used to smoke crack with Miss
Lesson for the
Belmonte,
day.
right?
Paula.
No, thank you.
Or Paula. Okay, fair enough, Paula. How often would you guys smoke crack together?
3 times a week.
Okay. Who used to supply it? Did you supply it or did
Nope.
she supply it?
She did.
She supplied it?
Yes, she did.
Did you used to pay her for what you smoked or did she just share it with you?
She shared it with me, and sometimes I paid for it.
All right. And you guys would I guess the word you used was party together, right? All right. It's a hard lifestyle, right?
Yeah, you lose a lot of sleep.
Yeah. Takes its toll, right?
Takes its toll. Yes, it does.
All right, but this is the lifestyle you've lived. Is that fair to say?
I haven't even
Yeah.
seen this
Is
stuff.
that,
Never
but that is the
wanted.
lifestyle you lived, right?
Oh yeah.
Is that fair to
It's the
say?
lifestyle.
And is that the
Drinking,
life?
smoking, drinking and smoking. Yeah.
Okay, and is that the lifestyle that Paula lived as well?
Oh yes.
Now, at some point, did Paula take up residence in something called the Tree House?
Oh yes.
All right, let's tell the jury, what is this place called the Tree House? What exactly is it?
A man has built a stairway up around the top of his trailer, and Paul needs to stay up there.
And that, was it an actual tree in the center of the structure?
It just wasn't it was no tree. It was just actual part that the man built. Stairway going up.
Next to his trailer, you said, right?
Over the top of his trailer.
And the
Over
man that
top
built
of
it,
the
do you know
trailer.
what his name is?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Fred. I mean, what's his name? Matt.
Matthew?
No, it wasn't Matt either.
Outdoor addict.
It was.
You don't remember?
Fred or Ed or Fred.
Okay. He's the one that built this structure.
Yes, he did.
Now, you said Paula was living there, right?
Yes, she was.
Or she was staying there, so to speak.
She was living there.
All right. Now, you say she was living there, but Mr. Raggett, I want to be clear. This is not a fully functioning home per se, right?
No, it's just a deck up there.
I mean, is there running water in this structure?
No running water.
No bathroom facilities?
No bathroom facilities.
What about electricity? Is there any electricity?
No electricity.
So at nighttime, I guess it gets pretty
Ole!
dark, right?
Yes, it did.
So what do you
Ole!
guys do for light at nighttime when you'd be over there partying?
Flashlights.
I couldn't hear you. What was that?
Flashlights.
Oh, flashlight. Okay, fair enough. So there were flashlights, and I guess that was the way you guys would illuminate the place at night. That's how you bring some light to the place.
Yes.
Okay.
It would be.
Now, how long? Do you remember, like, how long Paula was staying at this place called the Tree House?
6 months. About 6 months, I reckon.
Was it normal for her to move around a lot, or did she stay put?
It was normal for her to move around a lot.
Okay. Do you remember, or do you know rather, was she paying anybody money to stay in this facility? Like, did she pay anybody rent to live there?
I'm not sure. I never
Okay.
mentioned money.
Did you know a man named Matthew Bonnet?
Matthew Bonnet. No, I didn't.
Didn't know him? All right. But you knew Paula, right?
Yes, I knew Paula.
Okay, so you're there partying with Paula. I want to take you back to August of 2017. You remember that month?
August 17th, yeah.
All right, something big happened, right? While you were over with Paula one night.
Yes, it did.
All right, let's tell the jury about what happened. Do you remember the specific date?
No.
And I'm sorry, I said August. I think I meant to say November. It was November of 2017. Do you recall that date?
Yes.
All right. And do you remember where Paula was living at that point in time?
Yes, I do.
Where was she living?
Up in that tree house.
All right. Now I want to talk about the date specifically, November 17th of 2017.
All right.
Is that where she was living?
Yes, she was.
All right. Had you been over there to visit her when she was living there?
Yes, it was.
And on November 17th, were you over there on that particular day?
Yes, it was.
Was that the first time you'd gone over there, or had you been over there
No, I've been
before?
up there several times.
All right. And again, you guys would party. Is that fair?
Yes, we were. Yes, we were.
So when you went over there on November 17th, did you go, what was the purpose in going over there?
Either to visit with Matt, which I remember now, Matt or her, you know.
All right. Now you said Matt, you do remember Matt.
I remember now.
Okay. Who's Matt?
Matt is the owner of the property.
All right. And is that the one that lived in that trailer?
Yes.
All right. Do you remember his last name?
No, I don't.
If I told you the name Bonnet, does that ring any bells?
No, it don't.
All right. How did you know him as? Matt?
Just Matt.
Just Matt. Okay. So
they're talking about the
party with
victim,
Matt?
I do believe.
Yes.
One.
And where would you party with him? In his trailer?
Yes.
And what kind of stuff did you do with Matt when you partied?
Played chess.
Played chess? Did you ever drink alcohol with him?
Yes.
And again, what kind of alcohol did you guys drink?
Beer.
Is that what Matt drank as well?
Yes.
Matt ever drink hard alcohol?
No.
All right. What about the crack cocaine? Did you ever share or do crack cocaine with Matt?
Yes.
Did he used to do it as well?
Yes.
All right.
This guy.
So you were friendly with Matt as well as Paula. Is that fair to say?
Paul and Matt, yes.
Now, on November 17th of 2017,
Well
do you recall
said.
going over to the treehouse that day?
Yes, I do.
All right. Do you remember what time you went over there?
Almost about 2:30, 4 o'clock.
Sun still up, or had it gotten dark
Sun
already?
was still up.
Sun was still up?
Yeah.
And when you went over there, do you remember who you went to visit that day?
Paula.
Was Paula? Was she there when you went over?
Yes.
Now, did you have a way to contact her? I mean, did she have a phone or anything like that?
Yes, cell phone.
And did you have a phone?
Yes.
So when you'd go to visit her, would you contact her first, or would you just show up?
I'd just show up.
All right.
Or call her.
All right. On November 17th, do you remember, did you call her that day, or did you just show up?
No, I just showed up, I believe.
Just showed up?
Yes.
All right. And Mr. Ragged, if you need any water, I can get you some water, just so you know, okay?
No,
You all right? Okay. So Mr. Ragged, you said you went over there to visit with Paula, is that right?
Yes, I did.
Sun's still up?
Yes, it was.
Daylight?
Daylight.
And is she at the treehouse?
She's in the treehouse.
And do you make contact with her?
Yes.
And where did you make contact with her? Inside the treehouse?
Yeah, upstairs, not a treehouse. Yes.
All right. And did you guys do any partying that day?
Yes.
All right. And again, just so we're clear, Mr. Ragged, so the jury's clear, when you say partying, on this particular day, what were you guys doing? Were you drinking
Yes.
alcohol?
I was. She wasn't.
She wasn't drinking alcohol?
No.
What were you drinking?
Beer.
Okay.
Bud Light.
Bud Light. All right. And you said Paula wasn't drinking that day, right?
She wasn't drinking.
Okay. What about the crack cocaine? Were you guys doing crack cocaine that day?
Yes, we were.
Was Paula doing crack cocaine? Crack cocaine?
Yes, she was.
And were you doing crack cocaine?
Yes, I was.
All right. And again, that's where you heat it up and inhale it, I guess,
Yes.
right?
Yes, we did.
Okay. So, where did the supply come that day that you guys were smoking? Did you bring it or did Paula have it?
Paula had it.
She had the supply?
Yes.
Did she ever sell it to you?
Yes.
Did she sell to other people?
Yes.
Were you ever there when she sold to other people?
Yes.
All right. So explain that to us. Her customers would come to the tree house, I presume?
Yes.
And she would sell them what?
Crack cocaine.
Okay. Did she sell any other kinds of drugs besides crack cocaine?
No.
And did she do
That's
this regularly?
bad.
Yes.
And you said you were there at times when she would do that. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And
Truth. Truth.
yes, sir, that's what we want, the truth. Did you used to sell it?
No.
You didn't sell,
No. I just smoked it.
just smoked it. Okay. On November 17th, when you were over there with her, you said she wasn't drinking, but you were. Is that right?
Yes.
And you guys were both smoking crack.
Yes.
Now, at some point, did day become night that day?
Yes, it did.
All right, sunset?
Yes.
Got
Imagine
dark
that
outside?
happened.
It's getting dark.
So when it gets dark outside, what's the lighting like inside of that tree house?
Well, get the lights from the store and stuff. It's
I mean, is it as
Right
bright
there.
as it is in this room right now?
no, not at all. Not at all. Darker,
Dark?
not dark.
Hard to see when it gets dark in the tree house? That's a question, I'm sorry. Is it hard
Yeah.
to see when it gets dark?
It's definitely hard to see.
Do you remember using flashlights on that particular day or not to help
No,
with lighting?
No, it didn't. Wasn't that dark at the time?
Okay,
What you're getting into?
all right. And how long had you been there until something happened?
It was getting dawn. I mean, it was getting a little bit dark. Not much.
So not dawn, it was getting
Before it
dark,
went down,
right?
Before it went down, yeah.
All right. Were you there after the sunset and it actually got dark outside?
Yes.
Now, where were in the actual
No electricity,
treehouse
no
structure,
water.
Where did Paula
Flashlight
where did she sleep? What was
is
her
what they
area in
use.
that treehouse?
Right in the middle, tarped around with tarps around her.
Okay, in the middle, you said, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, was there anything higher up in the treehouse that
No.
other people stayed in?
No.
Just her. And you said she stayed in what you called the middle portion, is that right?
Uh-huh, with tarps around her.
With tarps?
Yeah, just with tarps.
And what would be the purpose of the tarps? To
Yeah, just keep
try to keep the rain out and stuff like that?
keep the rain out. Yeah.
Okay. Now, you guys were partying, right?
Yes, we were.
At some point, did something happen that night while you guys were partying?
Yes, it did.
All right, well, let's tell the jury about that. What happened? You're partying, at this point, it's nighttime, right?
Getting dark. Yeah, it's getting a little dark.
All right. And what happens, Mr. Raggett? What happens while you're in there with Paula? First of all, let me ask you, was anybody else there with you besides Paula?
No, just me and Paula.
Just you and Paula? Do you remember seeing Matt that day?
Earlier
Earlier in the day you saw
earlier
him?
downstairs in his place.
But as it became nighttime and you were in the treehouse with Paula, was Matt with you guys at that time?
Upstairs in the treehouse, yes.
That's where you were with Paula, right?
Yes, I was.
So where was Matt? As it became nighttime, I know you and Paula were in the treehouse, but where was Matt located?
He was downstairs in his trailer.
All right. Do you remember if anybody was with Matt or if he was alone, or do you know if he had
No,
people over?
He was alone. He was alone.
Okay. Now, at some point, you said something happened, right?
Yes, something happened.
All right. Well, let's tell the jury what happened.
Two guys came up the steps, looked around the corner. They were wearing a skull mask, and they came up, and I stood up, one of them nailed me, knocked me right back into the chair.
All right, and let me stop you, Mr. Raggett. I'm gonna break this down, okay? Because I have questions while you're giving this jury the story. You said 2 men came in. Is that right?
2 people with skull masks.
With skull masks.
Yes.
Now, how do you know it was 2? You were able to see them?
Yeah, they looked right on the corner. And I go, what the hell is this?
And they came right on in?
Yeah, they came right around, yeah, you know. Uh-huh.
I'm sorry, sir, that wasn't clear. Could you repeat what you just said?
They just came up the steps and right around, they got to make a turn on the steps, you know.
Okay.
Then they right on the top there. And then they came walking up and they popped me in the head.
All right, they popped you back. Let me ask you, Mr. Raggett, how are you able to tell there were 2 of them? Are you able to see enough?
Yeah, yeah.
Even though it was dark?
Yeah.
Could you make out their faces?
No, they were wearing skull masks.
Okay. Could you tell what ethnicity they were? Were they black, white? Could you tell anything in that regard?
No, they were wearing gloves as well as skull masks.
So you couldn't even see skin to tell if what ethnicity?
That's right.
All right. And you know there were 2 of them.
I knew there were 2 of them, yeah.
Now you said when they came in, what was your reaction to it?
I stood up, said, what the hell's going on here? You know, they hit me, knocked me back into my chair.
All right.
And
Do you remember if they hit you?
Before I get back up again, this person took a knife and put it to my throat, or I put it right here in front of my face, and gave me the motion like this. You know, don't want to hear that damn thing out of you. You know.
What did you take that to mean? That gesture? And Judge, for the record, the witness is putting his finger over his mouth. What did you take that to mean, Mr. Raggett?
Don't
talk.
Don't talk. Don't do nothing. So I sat there.
Now you said you took a couple of hits from this person, right?
Oh, he hit me. Yeah.
How many times did you get hit?
4.
All right. And then you said when you stood up, they knocked you down again?
Yeah.
When you were being hit, do you recall was a weapon being used or was it a bare hand hit?
Yeah, it was barehanded glove. I could feel the glove, you know, hit me too. Yeah.
Okay. So you felt the glove on his hand.
Yeah.
And that's what you felt. Where on your body were you being hit?
In the head.
In the head. All right. Did it hurt?
Yeah.
And when you got hit, you said about 4 times?
3 or 4.
Were both men hitting you or was it just one of the 2 men hitting you?
Both of them were hitting me.
Both of them were hitting you.
Uh-huh.
All right. And ultimately you said one of them gave you that sign, right?
Yeah.
Now, when he did that, did he leave you alone or did he stay with you?
He kept that knife in front of my face, yes.
All right. And then at some point, do you remember seeing Paula during this struggle?
Oh yeah, she was sitting right there getting beat up too.
And who was beating her up?
The other guy with the skull mask on.
The other guy with the skull mask on?
Uh-huh.
So were they both beating on Paula or at this point was one with you and one with Paula, if you remember?
One was beating on me and the other was beating on Paula.
Okay. Do you remember any description as far as the size of these men?
Yeah, I remember the size of them. I know, I could tell by the Swazer who the one was, you know, by meeting him different times up there at Paula's. I knew the Swazer is, get that word right, Swazer? Uh-huh.
Okay. I don't know what that word means, so I'm sorry.
Oh, his style, his walk, his talk.
Okay. Were they, like height-wise, were they tall guys, short guys? Were they the same height or was there a difference between the 2?
One tall, one short.
I'm sorry, and I talked over you and I apologize.
One tall, one short.
Okay. One's tall and one's short, you said, right?
You've got to say yes or no, sir. I not or if you could just.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Raggett, you said one of the men was tall and one of the men was shorter. Is that right?
Yes.
Do you recall which one was focusing attention on you and which one was focusing attention on Paula?
Yes.
Okay, which one was
You
on
guys
you, the
are
tall guy or
older,
the short
too.
guy?
Like, come on.
And
yes,
the
Swagger.
one on Paula was the shorter guy?
Yeah.
All right. Now, did this?
Yes. Okay.
No, you did okay. How How long did this go on for?
Hell,
No, it's probably hard to say.
10 minutes.
Okay. 10 minutes is a long time.
Yeah,
It is.
was.
All right.
Yeah, it was.
At some point, what were they doing to Paula? Were you able to observe what they were doing to
Yeah, they're
Paula?
jerking her around, saying we cut your damn throat, you know.
Do you remember them
You know,
doing any?
you
I'm
know,
sorry.
give it up, you know. Give it up, Paula, give it up, you know. She goes, Roger, help me. I said, yeah, give it up. You know, give them what
Yes.
they want. Get the hell out of here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to get poked about, you know.
Sure. At some point, do you know if they inflicted any injuries on Paula?
Yeah.
And what they do to her?
Hit her in the head.
Hit her in the head? Did they cut her?
Yeah.
Where'd they cut her?
Neck. Right here, I guess.
Do you remember seeing that?
No.
Then how do you know she got cut
Brutal.
there?
Because, yeah, I hit her.
It
I
is,
hit her in the
James.
leg before I ran down the steps.
Well, let's talk about that.
Okay.
At some point, when they kept saying give it up, were they specific
He
about
was
what
one
they
of the
wanted her
guys
to give up?
that was
Yeah.
in the
What they
treehouse
want.
that got attacked.
Money and drugs.
How do you know that?
Because they said give up the money or the drugs. Either
All right.
one. Take them both.
And did she ultimately give up the money and drugs?
Yeah.
And did she
Yes.
just hand it over? Do you remember how she was able to give it to them?
She said, right there it is. Take it and get the hell out of here.
And what'd she point to?
Little container on a little container.
All
Not
right.
so much.
A small container, you said, right?
Yeah. Little
All right.
container.
When she pointed that out to them, did they grab the container?
Yes.
He
And did
mows
they
lawn for the
leave?
golf course.
Yes.
All right, now, did they leave pretty much together? Did they leave, did one
Hey,
leave
thanks
before
for
the other? Or
stopping
did
in
they leave
again,
at the same
JJ.
time?
Later,
No,
skater.
No, they left because the man was holding a knife in front of my face, hit me, knocked me through the tarp, jumped over a railing after Matt, and ran down steps and stuck that man, and then ran back up steps and said, "We gotta go."
All right,
All the time I was under that
Whoa.
tarp, you know.
okay. Now, were you guys calling for help while this was happening?
Matt did. I heard him yell,
Matt said what?
"Help!"
Okay. Did
Yeah,
Matt come up the
help.
stairs to where you and Paula were?
No. Well, yes, he did. He came up steps and he turned around and went right back down.
All right, so Mr. Raggett, I want to make sure that we're clear for the jury because I want to make sure this is clear. So during the struggle,
This guy is really, really interesting. I think he's recalling as much as he can. Can you imagine? Like you said, 10 minutes. That's a long 10 minutes. And then they did end up attacking her. It's, ooh.
struggle with these two men, at some point did Matt come up to that platform where you and Paula were?
Matt made it up to the platform, seen what was going on, turned around and started walking back down. And that man hit me, knocked me through a tarp, and
You said you heard Matt yell for help.
yeah, then I heard Matt yell for help.
Okay.
And then that man would knock me through the tarp with that skull mask on, said, "We gotta go," to the other guy.
All right.
With a skull mask on, and they left.
And do you know if they ever made contact with Matt?
No.
Do you know if they ever got to Matt? I mean, were they able to get to him? Did they interact with Matt at all?
You don't have to that with Matt when that person jumped down the steps there and stabbed his ass.
Stabbed Matt.
Yes.
All right. Do you remember where they stabbed Matt? Was where on his body he got stabbed?
No.
And you said he came back upstairs, this man in the mask, and said to the other guy, "We got to go."
We gotta go. We gotta go. That's the only thing you said.
Did they leave?
Yes.
Now, when they left, what did you do? What's the first thing you did? Did you go to Paula?
So I went to Paula, see how she was, found a rag foot on her wound, and I ran down steps. As I ran down steps, I jumped over Matt, and I headed out to the alley to see where they went.
All right. Were you able to see where they went?
No.
When you got down to the alley,
they were already gone.
Already gone.
Uh-huh.
Did you go back into the treehouse then after you went out to the alley?
Nope, I took off.
Took off.
Took off.
Did you ever render any aid to Matt when you saw Matt? When you last saw Matt, was he standing or was he on the ground?
He was laying down. Do
you remember if he was bleeding at all?
No.
You don't remember, or he wasn't?
I don't remember, but I didn't see it. I didn't see no blood.
Okay. But you did render aid to Paula, is that fair to say?
Yeah, I gave her a rag. I found a towel there and I grabbed, hold it, I gave it to her, and I ran down steps.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm going to show the fence what's been previously marked as Echo Composite 1 through 4. Have you shown the fence, Judge? May I approach the witness? Yes. Mr. Reagan, I'm going to have you take a look at these photographs, okay?
Okay.
Tell me if you recognize them. Before we talk about them, tell me if you recognize them.
Yeah, it's Paula.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just Paula. Don't recognize that.
Okay.
Well, probably Paula's hand, but I wouldn't know.
Let me ask you, do these photographs appear to show Paula?
I'm surprised at the lack of photos for this case.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go with the two that you do recognize, okay?
That's Paula.
Do these pictures fairly and accurately show the injuries that Paula received on that night?
I believe so.
Is that what you observed on her that night?
I didn't look. All I did was head her rag and leave.
Okay. Judge, at this time, I seek to move in what's been previously marked as Echo 1 and 2 to evidence.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right, so admit states E, identification 1 and 2, it's 5, A and B. Yeah, give the ones that went to Crawford, give them back to the prosecutor, mark and admit the two.
Thank you. Okay, now that they're in evidence as states exhibit 5, composite A and B. Mr. Rugged, I'm going to show these to the jury. Let's keep this one first. I'm going to have you tell them what they're looking at here. Is this your friend Paula?
Yes, that's my friend Paula.
All right. She's got some redness on her face. Is that from the beating she took that night?
Oh yeah, it worked over good. Oh yes, yes.
And this one here, you said you put a rag in her neck, right?
I gave her a rag. I didn't put it there. I gave her a rag.
All right. Why'd you give her a rag?
Because she was bleeding. At least she said she was.
Good reason.
And after you gave her the rag, that's when you went downstairs, is that right?
Ran downstairs.
Okay. Mr. Reagan, do you know Tyrone Tucker?
Say again?
Do you know Franklin Tucker? Do you know a man by the name of Franklin Tucker?
No, I don't know Franklin Tucker.
I'm going to have you take a look at the defense table. Do you recognize that man?
No, I don't.
Okay. Now, on this particular night, you said, let me ask you this. How did you know it was two men? I know they had masks on.
I didn't know those two men. They had skull masks on. I didn't know them.
But how do you know it was men and not women?
Say again?
How did you know they were males and not females? You know.
That's a hard one.
Okay. But in your memory, it's two men.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a hard one.
Now, did you ever have contact with Paula again after this particular day?
Oh, yeah.
You seen her again?
Oh, yeah.
Have you guys talked about what?
Later on, yeah.
I'm sorry?
Yes, I had seen her later on that day. Not that day, but after everything was over with.
And have you guys partied together since then?
No.
Never again since that night?
Nope.
Now, all those events that happened here in Monroe County, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember, you said you saw a knife. Do you remember how many knives you saw?
I seen 2 knives, yeah.
You
They were
think?
carrying knives. Big ones, big knives.
Okay, they were or were not steak knives?
State's
Only a big old
witness.
white handled steak knife
Okay.
right in my face.
And you think that there was more than one knife?
The other guy was carrying a knife too.
So you think they both had a weapon, or a
Yeah,
knife rather?
Yes, they both had weapons.
Mr. Riker, give me just 1 second. Let me check with my partner, okay?
First day at his new job. I can't find a picture of Paula or Matthew. And I'm a looking. I'd like some better pictures of that tree house, but it's just not happening. Yeah, not happening.
Mark for identification is Fox Prep.
Yes, you may.
Mr. Riker, I'm going to show you a photograph, okay? Tell me if you recognize this person.
Ignore that damn deal.
Is that who you knew as Matt?
I thought, well, maybe. I don't know who that is.
All right, you don't know, you do or you don't know?
Well, it looks like Matt. Looks like Matt, personally.
All right, Judge, at this time I seek to move in F for evidence.
Is there any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right, states F for identification is admitted.
Roll.
As next in order being state 6.
So, Mr. Raggett, this is the man that you knew as Matt?
No, it kind of looks like him.
Kind of looks like him?
Yeah.
You can't say 100%.
Well, his hair's a little shorter.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh, just a troll. Nothing to worry about.
Do you think it looks like Matt? Sorry.
Yes, it kind of looks like Matt. Yes, I did. Yes, it is. Yes, it does.
Fair enough.
We're not getting to see these
Mr.
pictures.
Raggett, I don't have any other questions.
Are you looking at Paula? Nice.
He certainly set me up.
Okay, sir. If you just kindly stay in place there, please.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm going to address the jury. Members of the jury, thank you so much for your patience and attention during our morning session. As I told you, when this witness was called, we'd break for lunch about now, and that's what we're going to do.
There you are.
Leave your notepads there on the seat when you get up. I have a hearing, a short hearing in a separate matter at 1:30, so I'm going to ask that you please be back in the jury assembly room by Let's see, it's 1:45. That's about an hour and a half for your lunch break. Follow the cautionary instructions that the court has consistently given you. Enjoy your lunch. 1:45. Be back. Be excused till then.
All right. Hey. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. So what I'll do is I'll close down this stream and I will set one up for an hour and a half. That's going to be probably right around noon Mountain Standard. So an hour and a half from now. See if they have any matters before we leave, and if there's nothing, I'll set up that next
doors closed. Okay, so the jurors are now gone. Mr. Raggett, you're going to be back on the witness stand after lunch because the defense has the right to ask you questions also.
Sure. Yes.
Okay, so I don't know if anybody wants me to give them any special instructions during the lunch break or not. You know,
I don't think it's necessary, Judge. Nothing from the state.
Boy, talking about the case.
I as Frank
okay, so
still standing.
the rule of
Sit down.
sequestration of witnesses has been invoked. That basically means that you shouldn't be discussing your testimony or the case with anyone during the lunch break.
All right.
All right?
Yes.
Okay. Otherwise, you know, enjoy your lunch and please be back here at like 1:40. All right? It's like 12:16 right now, so you're back by 1:40. That should give you ample time for lunch, and we'll see you then. All right?
Okay. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Hour and a half, didn't he say?
Yes, sir.
For until after lunch, 1:40. Anything else from anybody before we break?
Nothing from the state, Judge. I'm sorry. Nothing from the state.
Mr. Tucker, anything before we break?
No, Your Honor.
All right.
Fine.
Enjoy your lunch.
Thank you, Judge.
Back.
All right. So what I'll do is I will set up another stream for an hour and a half from now. If it happens to come on earlier, I'll start the live a little bit earlier. So I don't know. What do you guys think? This has been interesting. He's actually doing a better job than I expected, to be honest with you. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing. I hope you guys come back for the next one. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Okay. Off I go. We'll see you in an hour and a half. Bye.